Hello, hello, everybody. How is everybody doing tonight? Happy St. Patrick's Day. Happy Leprechaun Day. I myself am a leprechaun, so it's extra special when I say it. Hey, Chris.
Hello.
Happy St. Patrick's Day.
Oh, is that today? I didn't even notice.
Isn't it? Am I like out of my mind right now? No, it is, I think. Yeah, it is. My ponytail keeps disappearing. Oh, this is inconvenient. Oh
Your
my.
head's
Okay.
disappearing.
I know. I don't know what's going on. I'm gonna have to turn my brightness up here and maybe hopefully I won't look like I'm missing the top of my head. How is everybody tonight? How was your weekend? How about you, Chris? How was your weekend?
Oh, it's going.
It's going.
Yeah.
Well, that's better than not going, I think. Maybe.
Yeah.
Man, I'm
It's like
not gonna have a head throughout the whole stream. Holy shit. Yeah, so welcome everybody. We're gonna do it this way. I'm just gonna go with it. I got like a cool comb over going on here. Yeah, let me do that actually. Cool. Very cool. I wish I had like a leprechaun wig or a leprechaun hat. I don't. How is
yeah.
everybody? I have not been drinking, I promise. Holy shit, we are off to a start. I don't know if it's a good one or a bad one. Anyway, we're doing spooky stories once again. Oh my god. Spooky stories tonight where we gather around the Mothman and we tell our spookiest spooky stories. Everybody tap the screen. We got 274 people in here. Everybody tap the screen, send some hearts. More hearts means more people, and that means more ghost stories. And tonight we're going to manifest a Mothman story or leprechaun story since it's a holiday.
Yep.
Uh, we've already got a person, and usually when we get a person really soon, it always makes me a little bit nervous. But we're gonna see what's up.
Hey, how you good? How you guys doing? I'm a big fan.
Hey, no, thank you. Interesting.
I got a scary story actually. I don't know if you guys are
Um,
actually.
Go
It's a it,
ahead.
it's a sad story because I can't believe after all that crap they're still together.
Okay.
These two individuals, man, I feel so sorry for them. After all that crap, they're still together.
What happened?
Oh, you want to know about who I'm talking about?
Yes, sir.
My ass cheeks.
Oh, there we go, Sarah.
Yeah, I figured.
There we go. I
Figured
was
as
ready.
much. Oh my god, what an edge lord. Oh my god, he's so edgy. Oh my
I was
god,
ready
guys,
for it.
we just got owned. We just got owned. All right, everybody tap the screen, send some hearts. More hearts means more people, means more spooky stories. Let's see. Is there anything paranormal going on in the news? I haven't looked for a very long time. um, how you doing, Chris? You doing okay? Are you awake?
Yeah, I was actually falling asleep, but I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna make it on time today, so here I am.
Well, we're all glad you made it. We are glad. No more like the last one. I mean, there's always going to be edgy edge lords who think that they're cool. I mean, it's TikTok. It's going to happen. Whatever. It's no big deal. How are you doing, Harry? How are your ghosts? Yes, I'm on time. Or, no, you're on time. Chris is on time. So Holly doesn't have to fire you tonight.
Oh, great.
Always silly stuff going on. Yep. We're a bunch of silly gooses here on Paranormally Correct. They're still here. Yeah. Well, all right, guys. Well, the guest box is open. If anybody has a spooky story, wants to come up and talk about it, it could be about cryptids, paranormal. If you have a leprechaun story, we're not opposed to that. You could definitely come up and tell it. Glitch in the Matrix stories. Chris loves those. Somebody come tell him a glitch in the Matrix story.
Yeah.
Uh, Just send a guest request, come up, and share your spookiest spooky story. I don't know what it's going to be like tonight. TikTok is very slow today. Very, very slow.
Yeah, well, we're off to a great start.
We are off to a terrible start. But you once saw a ghost car.
Hmm.
Interesting. I've heard about ghost cars. I've heard a lot of stories about them. I don't think I've ever seen one. There's a pretty famous ghost car story in the state of Kentucky, if you're from Kentucky. Um, it's on Sleepy Hollow Road outside of Louisville. If anybody's familiar with that, I actually made a video on it. Um, oh yeah, did you get to check out the White West Virginia White Thing story? Chris, did you see the West Virginia White Thing video I did?
Yes, I did.
What did you think about the White Thing or Sheep Squatch?
I don't know. I was kind of confused by that story, actually. I didn't really know what to think of it.
Yeah, it's a confusing story for sure.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Well, I mean, I guess confused isn't the right word. I was just I don't know what to think of it. I mean, so okay, so it's this creature, right? And supposedly it attacked this guy, but then there was no like physical, like he had no cuts or bruises and his clothes was fine.
Yeah.
So I don't get it. Was it like like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to think of that one. That's a weird one. I've never heard of it before.
Yeah, so that is the weird thing about the Sheep Squatch slash West Virginia White Thing is that though lots of people claim they have seen it, um, there's never been like physical evidence of one of its attacks. So it's attacked a lot of people, but no, Cat Mama, you haven't missed anything. Glad you're here, by the way. Thank you so much, Harry, for the roses. But yeah, it is weird, and that's why at the end of the video I kind of posed the question of like, so what is this thing? Is it paranormal? Is it a cryptid? Is it just a folk story? Like, what is the West Virginia White Thing? Nobody actually knows.
Yeah.
Giant wolf, 60 miles per hour, covered in mud. Hot damn. Guys, the guest box is open if anybody has any type of spooky story. It doesn't even have to be paranormal, it can just be weird in general. Feel free to jump the box, come up, and share your story. Any cryptids in Western Kentucky? Well, we have goblins in the state of Kentucky, apparently. So there are goblins. But I think, let's see, where's the Goat Man? The Goat Man is closer to like Louisville, I suppose. So no, I don't think there are any. Well, there's Dog Man at LBL, allegedly. Giant wolves in Louisiana. Oh, so that would be like a Lugaroo or a Rougarou. Those are interesting. I like reading about those. What about Indiana? I think Indiana has a soybean monster, don't they? Or maybe like a corn cob monster. I don't know. It's
What the
about the only
heck?
thing in Indiana. Oh gosh, I lived in Indiana one time. I liked it there. It was nice. Um,
Hmm.
let's see. Indiana cryptids. This might be a cryptid that you can take in a fight, Chris. Maybe you ought to add these to your list.
Yeah.
So there is the Boonville monster. There's a bridge troll in Indiana. The
Hmm.
cable line monster, the Crawfordsville monster, Crossley creature, green clawed monster, mud mermaids. I've actually heard of those. I've heard the stories about the mud mermaids before. Pukwudgies. Those are kind of interesting. Yeah, so Indiana has a ton of cryptids.
Cable line
Real life
monster.
Scooby Doo. Yeah, no, the cable line monster. Like, what is that? Don't ask me. I'm just the messenger. I have no idea. Dogman and Sasquatch in Michigan. Yep. Definitely lots of dogman sightings in Michigan. Guest box is open. Yeah, cat mama. I just made that up. Soybean monster. I just made it up. It ain't true. Unfortunately. Hey, you quit that, Bean.
What's a mud mermaid?
A mud mermaid. Let me Google
Yeah. Never heard of that one.
Bean. Hang on. Bean is like tearing the carpet. Quit that. Behave or I won't let you sit in here. I'll lock the door, throw you out in the hallway. It's the ring except for wait, what? Harper's Ferry, West Virginia. Watched a dark figure walk through my bedroom. Get up here and tell us your ghost stories, guys. The guest box is open. We got all night. We just got here. We just got started, so we are ready for some spooky stories. If anybody wants to come up and share one.
Yeah.
The story of the Mud Mermaid. Okay. Hang on, just. Alrighty. Mud Mermaid. Mud Mermaid. I'm surprised my bird's not having a fit. Like 2 minutes before I started the stream, he was, oh my God, he was having a flat out tantrum. So I was like a nervous wreck. I was like, oh God, what am I going to do? This is awful. I thought I was going to have to postpone the stream a little bit because it was so crazy. According to those who claim to have seen them, the mud mermaids were more lizard-like in appearance. They were described as having an upper body and arms of a human, but with yellowish skin and webbed hands and sharpened claws. So these are some bad bitches, you guys. They also had pointed ears similar to a dog, and their lower half was tapered to a point like a lizard tail. That's a mud mermaid in Indiana. So if you have any of those things creeping around outside your house, I wouldn't go outside without shoes on. Just saying. Cable line monster is named after a road. That's good to know because I was imagining, like when you go zip lining, it came out at you. That was my first thought. I don't know. I've never heard of that one before. But yeah, so that's Mud Mermaids. Pretty interesting. Definitely might do a video on that. I don't normally cover Indiana, but I've been wanting to expand a little bit to cover, like all of Appalachia. So I guess I could throw in a few random states west of Appalachia.
Right.
What if I told you living life is a paranormal horror story? I would tell you that I have no idea what you're talking about, but I hope things get better. I don't know what you're talking about, so I can't really respond.
Yeah, I would agree with horror story. I don't know about paranormal.
Yeah, definitely. Have you ever heard of Old Salem Cemetery in Murray, Kentucky? Do I have a video on that? I feel like I do. Old Salem Cemetery. I feel like I've covered that or I have it on my to-do list, one of the two. Come up and tell us about it. If you guys know of any haunted Kentucky locations, hop up here. Now let's see, there's a Salem Cemetery in Richmond, Kentucky. I don't think I know about the one in Murray, Kentucky. Can see into the future and read people's energy. Come up here.
No, they can't.
Oh. Yeah, my God. Took right off. You guys, a ghost just knocked my Burt's Bees right out of my hand. Flew clean across my desk. Holy cow. I'm gonna blame it on a ghost.
Wild Man of Holston Mountain.
What is it?
Wild Man of Holston Mountain. I never heard of any of these things. I'm I need to educate myself.
Yeah, me too. Wild Man of Holston Mountain. That one I'm not familiar with. You want to hear a legit dogman encounter? I'll tell you my dogman story. I don't know if it was a dogman. I always just kind of say that maybe it was a dogman, but I don't know what it was. It could have very well been an alligator, for all I know. If you believe that an alligator could survive cool weather in Kentucky, that's like a whole other question. So this happened in 2002, and actually no, it was 2001, and it was probably around October. And there's a reason that I know that. But it was in the fall, and it was pretty cool out. You know, by the time the sun set at night, like in the evenings, it would be cold. Me and a friend from high school were out. Well, I'm from Elliott County, Kentucky. So if you know where that is, like, because I know a lot of my audience is primarily Kentucky. So I'm from Elliott County. Me and a friend had gone to Round County to goof off, and it was a weeknight, so we had to be home early. So it was probably somewhere between 9 to 11 p.m. And it was a little bit rainy out, and these are usually the conditions for like dogman sightings, which is kind of interesting, just, you know, probably worth noting. So we were driving back from Moorhead, and we were on Christie Creek. And Christie Creek, if you know where that is, if you're familiar with it, it's just a big winding mountain. And it's like, that's actually the road that I would always take people on if they weren't from around Kentucky, because it would make them seasick. Be like, you ever been to Kentucky? Here you go. And so, yeah, it's like a big winding mountain and lots of blind curves, lots of big cliffs, stuff like that. So we are coming down this highway. We turn like a big sharp corner, and then there's a straight stretch. And in front of us, I don't know how far, 50, 100 feet, I have no idea, there was this thing crawling across the road. Now, I always say that it looked like an alligator, because if you've ever been to Florida or you've ever seen an alligator in the road or something like that, they kind of like the way that their elbows bend and like the way that their knees bend. That's kind of how this thing was crawling across the ground, except it was enormous. And so this is not like a big major highway. This is a 2-lane country highway. It was stretched almost all the way across the road. It was so big. We hit it because we didn't have time to slow down. We hit it with all 4 tires. The car, I'm pretty sure, was airborne for probably like 0.2 seconds. um, and we immediately were like, oh God, the oil pan or something has definitely busted, because that did not sound good. What the hell did we hit? So we go maybe not even a quarter of a mile up the road, and we pull into like a little gravel driveway that kind of goes off into a field. We turn around and we come back because we're not sure what we hit. We want to see it. No, we don't have gators in Kentucky, Cat Mama, but I'll get to that. So we turn around, we come back, and technically, considering the distance that we went, we should have been able to see. Like, if this was something that could get up and run away, we should have probably been able to see some clue of that, because we didn't go that far. You know what I mean? And it didn't take us that long. Yeah. So by the time we come back, there's nothing in the road. There's no blood in the road or anything like that. On one side of the road, which would have been like the driver's side as we were coming in, is just a big rock bank, like a big drop off. So it's not like the kind of hill that you could climb or run up or down. It's like a rock wall, because it's like a cliff. And then there's the road, and then there's like a big field, and then there's like I don't know what body of water it is, but there's like a creek that's almost as big as a river. A couple yards or something, I don't know, not too far away, but not real close to the road. Definitely not close enough that this thing could have run into the water or like run into the field without us seeing it, especially considering like when we turned around and the headlights kind of panned across the field. So we go back, we look, there's, like I said, there's no sign that an animal has been hit. And this thing is gone. It's just gone. And it was like, we had a really weird night after that. I don't normally tell this part of the story, but we were terrified on the way home, because this whole thing, it didn't feel like we had just hit an animal. it felt ominous. Like there was just something ominous about this experience. And all the way back to Elliott County, the animals seemed really disturbed because, like, we passed a lot of places where I didn't even realize they had animals. There was like one place where a bunch of chickens flew out in the road at us, which was kind of crazy. I don't know if it has anything to do with it. Probably not. But that's I always said like maybe it was an alligator, maybe somebody had a pet alligator, like a baby one, and it got too big and they threw it out of their bathtub into their backyard and it took off into the woods. I don't know how realistic that is. I know that Dogman doesn't make any more sense than that. Um, yeah, no, there were no chicken gators. Luckily, we didn't experience any of that. Um, yeah, I don't know, Cat Mama. I don't know what it was. It was enormous, and whatever it was, it lived to creep and lurk another day because it took off. It definitely cut a path out of there pretty quickly. Um, where it went, I don't know. Now, I feel like if it was an alligator, it wouldn't have disappeared that quick, you know?
Yeah.
Um, I don't know, but it's funny because years and years and years later, like when all the Dogman stuff started kind of popping up on YouTube, I was listening to Dogman Encounters that not Rick, what's his name, Vic Cundiff, he hosts a show, and it's I think it was really popular. I don't know if it still is, but I was listening to one of his interviews, and I was like, that's crazy. It kind of sounds a lot like what we experienced. And then also, I was friends with Jody Cook at the time, and he is kind of infamous for his Dogman team in ADP. And so, just kind of like talking to these two people, I kind of was like, oh, it kind of sounds like maybe that's what I saw. Like, maybe did I see a Dogman? So I don't know. I don't know what I saw. But we hit it with a car, so it was definitely real. Um, very, very strange encounter.
Yeah, leave it to you to run over a cryptid with the car.
I don't
That's your
know.
host, guys.
I don't know if it was a cryptid. Like I said, it could have been an alligator. Now the funny thing is like I went to school with a guy who I don't know how he did this because keep in mind this was like in the 90s and 2000s, early 2000s. He had exotic pets. Like he could get anything. I don't know how he got them. I don't know where he got them from.
Hmm.
But no, the car wasn't dented because it didn't hit the front of the car. The car went over top of it. We drove over it. So I don't know how that worked either. But no, there were no dents. Don't say what? I don't know what that means. Don't say SW.
Skinwalker
Anyway.
or Wendigo.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll say it.
We don't really even talk about that stuff here. So I mean, but I don't have any reservations about saying it if I have to refer to it.
Yeah.
So there's my story, my cryptid encounter. Somebody come up and tell us about your cryptid encounters. I know somebody out there has had one.
Yeah, I feel like Skinwalker is probably one of the fakest things. I don't know what you call it. It's not a cryptid, right? Is it considered a cryptid? I don't think so.
I think it depends on who you ask because here's the
Right.
problem with the whole skinwalker thing. It has like it belongs to Native American culture and it's been
Okay.
co-opted by people who really don't have any business talking about it pretty much. And there's like a big trend on TikTok right now where people talk about there being skinwalkers and wendigos in the Appalachian Mountains, which is
Yeah.
absolute baloney. There's never been any stories like that. That is a very new invention of social media. That's not a thing. And just like the whole thing with, and I would really be curious to know if anybody here is from like Eastern Kentucky, for example. If you grew up in the Appalachian Mountains, did any of you ever actually hear this stuff that's on TikTok right now about like, if you hear your name, no, you didn't. And if something whistles, don't whistle back. And you're supposed to close your blinds at night. None of that stuff is true. Like, none of that. I never heard any of that growing up. And I literally grew up in the woods. I mean, I'm from the Appalachian Mountains. I grew up in the woods and I never heard anything like that. In fact, most of the poor Appalachian people that I grew up around, myself included, we didn't have air conditioners when I was a kid. We had to open our windows at night, we had to open our doors at night, and we were fine. We were safe. Nobody ever bothered us. We have a guest. See what's going on.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello and welcome. You got a story for us?
Oh no. I can't hear you guys. Hold on one second. I'm gonna take my profile off of thing because this happened to me before. I'll be right back.
Okay. Oh, I see you down there, Tully. By the way, hello. I don't think I got to say hi. Never heard of things like that. There were plenty of wives' tales, but yeah, no, this is like the whole thing with like the creators saying, you know, oh, like what's another one? There's a bunch that are real popular on TikTok right now. I don't know. There was never anything like that. Nobody ever said anything like that when I was growing up.
Are they supposed to be haunted, or what's up with the Appalachian Mountains?
Yeah, you know, the Appalachian Mountains, there's a lot of like lore,
Uh-huh.
just because of like the culture. And I can't speak for other states, but I know like Eastern Kentucky, Appalachian areas, you know, it's a lot to go into. I'm not going to try to get into all of it, but just the biggest part of our culture there is like folk stuff. So like folk tales, legends, superstitions, you know, stuff like that. And it's largely because, and that's what like my all my content here on TikTok is basically like, you know, about the legends and stuff that come from Eastern Kentucky. And it's just stuff that people, you know, it's folk stories. It's like folk tales,
Yeah.
but it's just a big part of our culture. And it's really weird nowadays to hear people who aren't even from Appalachia talk about these types of things, and you know, kind of make up weird stuff to go along with it. And it's wildly popular, unfortunately. Welcome back.
Hey, okay. It's so much better. Hi, y'all.
Hello.
Hello.
So I heard you talking about the cryptic story. What is that? Is that like some other thing? Because like I've had experiences, paranormal, extra, like some of, but cryptic. This is like the first time I've heard of it. What is this?
Yeah, so cryptid creatures, it's a shortened version of basically like a reference to cryptozoology. And cryptozoology is basically the study of animals that haven't been identified yet. So at one point in time, a kangaroo was a cryptid creature. I think like a wolverine was at one point in time a cryptid creature. Silverback gorillas were once upon a time cryptid creatures. So it's basically just animals that haven't been identified and classified yet. But usually it's referring to like Bigfoot, Loch Ness Monster, Mothman, the Goat Man, Sheep Squatch, those types of things.
Okay, yeah. Thank God, no, I have not had one of those experiences yet. I think have experience, I think that would be the biggest freak out for me, just because you know what, honestly, I don't know. It's just like when you think of an animal that hasn't been discovered, just the thought creeps me out. It really does.
Yeah.
Yeah. But this world is fascinating, and there's just so many things we haven't discovered yet. So who knows? I definitely wouldn't take it off the table. So, but yeah, I've had a couple of like glitches in the matrix. I don't know if you would call this like a paranormal experience or an actual glitch or something. I really don't like when I like think about this story. I still don't even know what to make of it. It's been years, but I still don't know how to really put everything together. I don't know if you guys know this, but like in third world countries, or the old country, that's what my parents called it. There's a lot of weird stuff that happens, and for some reason my grandparents live like right next to the cemetery, so it really doesn't help when things go south, but there was this time where I went to Guatemala with my parents, and I was pretty young. I was like maybe 10 years old or so. And I didn't really know anything about paranormal or anything like that. I don't think, like, you hear ghost stories and everything, but you never think, oh, it'll happen to me. Well, I remember like this night, I still remember so clearly because I'm still confused about it. We were all, my cousins and I, we were sitting at the dining room table, and there's two houses. So they have a front house and the back house, and they're not connected whatsoever. And the front house is a little bit more modern, has lights, has water. The back house is literally sticks and some like, what is that called? It looks like tin foil on the top. It is just creepy. It has those creepy vibes, right? But at nighttime, the only way to light that place up is by a candle. So anyways, as my cousins and I were sitting around, we weren't even talking about like anything that was out there or crazy. We were just, enjoying each other's company and stuff. And then all of a sudden, like my grandfather, at that time he was still alive. So he was sitting at the end of the table, literally right next to me. I didn't notice anything weird. He was just sitting there, just listening to the conversation. What I thought was definitely weird was when he got up and he said, "All right, good night. I'm going to bed." And I answered back, and I was like, "All right, Grandpa, I'll see you tomorrow morning. Have a great night." And I just could see him just walking away into the back house. No candle, no nothing, just like literally walking into the darkness, right? And so as soon as that happened, all of my cousins kind of like turned towards me. And it was one of those creepy vibe type of scary movies where, they all stop what they're doing and they all turn to you. And they're like, "Who are you talking to?" And I'm like, "Are you guys serious?" I was like, "Don't be rude. My grandpa's walking to, he's going to bed." And so one of my cousins ends up calling my grandfather, and he literally, the living room for the front house was right behind me. It was the door right behind me. And so, anyways, as he is walking out of the living room, like right behind me, I can see him walking inside of the back house at the same time. So one is going in and the other one is coming out. I don't know if that makes any sense, but once that happened, I wasn't like, yes, I guess my family over there is religious or whatever, but I had no idea what was going on. It seemed like the whole entire family, including the family from, the village or whatever, they all came to the house. They all started lighting up candles. All the women and the girls slept in one room and the men slept in another. And then they were just chanting, like, whatever they were saying. And it scared the crap out of me because I had no idea what was happening. And the stories that came after that was like, this is what happens when, spirits come and they try to take kids and da 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 da. And I was freaking out. I think at 10 years old, I think that would freak anybody out, Someone said doppelganger. I have no idea, what I heard and what the story was that one of my grandmother's cousins. I don't even know how, but like they died in the back house. So who knows if that was like a spirit? I honestly think it was like a glitch in the matrix. Maybe I must have been, seeing. I don't know. I honestly don't know. See, I even now I get freaked out because I'm like, I don't know what happened. Rest in peace. He's now, gone. But that still freaks me out every time I think about it because I'm just like, what was that? I have no idea till this day. Was that like a glitch in the matrix? Was that a different dimension that I was peeking into? Was, I really talking to a spirit? Was that even my grandfather? Was that somebody that was pretending to be my grandfather? You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
yeah, that one was kind of creepy to me. I
Yeah,
mean,
you're right. It does sound like both a glitch in the matrix and a doppelganger experience. It's
but
super
see,
strange.
isn't a doppelganger someone that you can like you can it's an actual person. It's like your twin, right? But this thing just disappeared into the darkness. So, it's not like anybody tried to go in there and investigate like what that was. I mean, that's kind of scary. And back in the day, back then, it's like we barely had flashlights, So, I'm not joking when I'm talking about the candle part and how much they lit up everything. And that's how that house was pretty much lit up. Now, just the scenery of just candles and them chanting whatever it was, whether it was prayers or whatever, it's just really creepy. That really scared the crap out of me.
Yeah, that is pretty spooky and ominous. Wow.
And right before I got here, someone talked about like a mimic. I've heard about that. And you were just talking about like someone calling out to you or whatever, and you answer back. I remember that was me all the time. And my mom, she would scare me a little bit. I used to think she was joking, but I used to hear my name being called like over and over, and I would just get upset. And I'll be like, what? Who's calling me? What do you want? And everybody would just turn and be like, no one called you. Like, what are you talking about? Like, who, and at that time I didn't believe in God or anything. So, when people would tell me like, oh, you need to pray, I was like, what are you guys on? I was like, I swear to God, you guys called me. What the hell? Is this a trick? And so, I've heard that a couple of times, but something that I have seen is like, do not answer mimics, do not even interact. I don't know what happens if they lure you in. I really don't know. I'm glad that I never got lured in like that. But there would be times where, I would go into my mom's house, and I swear my mom's house is just so haunted. And I would go into the living room, there would be nobody there. I'm glad I didn't get snatched up or something, but it's just kind of creepy when it happens to you.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
Mm.
absolutely. It is. It is very spooky. Yeah, doppelgangers, by the way, they can be apparitions, but it depends. There's a lot of it's been misused a lot, and so there are various different meanings with it. But yeah, I don't know. It could have been something like that. Could have been a glitch, but either way, pretty crazy.
Yeah, it is. And then when you say extraterrestrials, you talking about like you've had an encounter with an extra, because I swear to God, I think I was abducted. I'm not even joking, back in 2020 or somewhere around
Oh,
there. And
interesting. We're always looking for abduction stories. So,
yeah, like,
Yeah.
and I told my husband about this, the day that it happened. I wrote it down. I wrote the whole experience because I still reading it back, it still creeps me out. But everything that has been written, everything that has been shown to me, it's like slowly playing out, which is even creepier because I'm just like, was that a dream? Was I really dreaming? I don't know what was going on, but I'll share this because it's kind of fun, I think. And I don't know if anybody has had these same experiences, but 2020 was a weird year for a lot of people. It was definitely a great awakening for a lot of people. So anyways, on this day, I was, sleeping in bed. I had my kids, which I didn't, at that moment in time, I thought they had gotten up. I only had two at the time. And they were babies, so like what, 3 to 5 years old, somewhere around there. And so, anyways, I'm sleeping, and all of a sudden, I sleep with the door open. So I see these little shadows just walking, going back and forth, from the door. And honestly, I thought it was my kids, I thought it was my kids, and it was really late. And I don't know, I have a lot of trauma. So my instinct is just to get angry super quick. And so I was like, what are you guys doing awake? Go back to bed. As soon as I said that, and I got up halfway, I just sat halfway, and I kind of touched the side, and I felt my daughter. And I looked over, and both of my children were sleeping right next to me. And so I freaked out and I froze, and I just kept looking at the door. And these things were just literally going in and out, in and out, in and out. And then they would pop out of the door, out of like nowhere, just little shadows like here and there. And I was like, oh, hell no, what is this? And so this overwhelming sense of, I don't know if you guys have ever experienced like sleep paralysis. Or
Yes.
yeah, so it kind of felt like that, right? And so I was
Mm.
kind of stuck and frozen in that moment, and I couldn't tell my body to move or anything. And so then I felt myself kind of floating up and kind of like just going through the door. And I remember mentally I was fighting hard, just saying like, this has to be a dream. Like, you just need to touch down. Like, this can't be happening. I don't understand. Like, I don't know how to explain it unless you have been there, that moment of shock of like, this can't be happening to me. And so as I'm like floating through the door, I grab a hold of the doorknob and I start shaking the door and trying to scream, but nothing would come out. But I shook the door hard as I could, and I remember how it rattled. And because I guess I was in that fear-based mode, I had no idea what was going on. I told my brain, touch down, put your feet on the floor. And I did. Slowly it came, and I was right in front of these two beings. I don't know what. And they, they look like children, and I was just like, what is this? But they didn't speak to me. There was no actual like verbal communication. It was somehow all telepathic communication, like instantly. I knew what they were feeling. I knew what they were saying. I knew like everything. And what came out of that was like giggling. It was like they were giggling, like, you don't know what's gonna happen. And then I'm over here like, what? WTF? Like, what's going on? And so, anyways, I felt myself being picked up. Like a child, when they're throwing a tantrum and like mama comes or daddy comes and they just pick them up by their armpits and take them up. So that's exactly the thing that I experienced. I got picked up from the back, like literally from my armpit area, and I couldn't. And I was looking at my feet. So I know that I wasn't like in a dream realm because I could still see my body, my flesh and everything. And so as I'm looking, I'm now floating, and I'm like, oh my God, this isn't happening. Oh my God. Like you just start freaking out. And so I see them, but the feeling that I'm getting is just like giggles, just like, you don't know what's about to happen, And so then I get taken up, and at that time, I didn't know we had an attic, okay? So I floated through that bitch, and then I went up, and then I went and saw my neighborhood and saw the house, and I thought, I was pretty freaking out. Like, I was scared. I'm terrified of heights, so that was not fun for me. And then I just kept going up, and I started seeing the city. And then I started going up, and I started seeing less of the city and more of the sky. And then I started flowing even more up. And then I saw this very thin blue line. And once I got there, I was like, oh, this has to be a dream. Like, this has to be a dream. I don't want to, like, all right. And in my brain, I was just like, all right, show me what you're going to show me. I'm already here, I guess. And all of a sudden I hear like this, I don't know if y'all have ever heard like one of those really old cameras that like you click and it goes, there's like a high pitched noise and all that stuff that rings in your ear. So, anyways, I heard that, but everything went white. And what I remember was that, like, somehow the reality was being shapen right in front of me. Like, there was a void. I was just in complete white, and that there was nowhere I could go. It doesn't matter where I went. It was the same thing. I was going into whiteness, like white light or something. And so, once everything started to form in its shape, I was in a freaking spaceship and I was looking down, but the floor was like everywhere I stepped, it like opened up into like a little window. I could see down. It was, I don't know how I could say, it was like I said, like a window. It was very clear. I could see us passing through mountains and oceans and all of this stuff. And I was like, "Ugh, this is amazing. Like, what is this? You know, like, this is really cool. I've seen Star Trek and Star Wars, and this was nothing like it. You know, I was like, this is like, so how did my brain come up with this? Because I am not this tech savvy when it comes to any of this. So, anyways, I'm over there and I'm just looking around, and of course, there's other beings there, but I'm not communicating. I'm just like in shock of like what I'm witnessing. I feel like I'm walking into like Men in Black, and I'm just seeing all these things just walking, minding their own business while I'm, like, what the heck am I doing here? And this being comes to me, and now I understand that I have been through a lot of trauma and drama in my life, and I was holding on to a lot of that. I still kind of am, but I'm working on it. Okay, I'm a work in progress, just like a lot of us are. So bear with me. When this being came to me, it was like a reunion. It was like we knew each other, but it was like this being had so much excitement, so much happiness, like, oh my God, you're here. Is, like, oh my God, it's been a while. How are you? Da, da, da. But I was holding on to a lot of anger, a lot of resentment, a lot of everything. And I don't know why that's what was coming out. And what I got from it, like telepathically, was like, okay, I don't have time for this. We don't got time for this. There's way too much I got to show you. Just follow me. And so we went through this like corridor. It looked like a movie theater, like when you're walking down like a movie theater, but it was all these bunch of doors. I mean, huge doors, some small doors, some wooden doors, some old ass doors, some like look like royalty doors. I mean every single door that you can think of in every shape, size, like colors, windows, like it just everything was just amazing. And so as I'm walking through that, he stops at one door that looks like, like you guys remember high school or junior high, right? Like, the doors that are like with the metal bar in the middle.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. So like we stopped there and he opened up the door. And so when I went in, I felt like I was back in like junior high school or high school. And trust me, at that time, I'm already like a decade out of high school, So it felt like, wow, I'm about to go see my friends. Oh, I could go to the cafeteria. Oh, I could smell the food. It was just really exciting for some reason. And so, anyways, the person, the guide or whatever you want to call this entity that I was with, just disappeared, and I fell into this scenario, like I was so, I don't know, I was like 100% in. I forgot that I was with that one being. I forgot that I got zoomed up. Everything. I was now focused in where I was. And so for me, my goal was just to try to look for my friends, And so I saw this blue line and I followed it, and it led me to the cafeteria. And so when I got there, I saw these people in like gray silver hoodies, okay? But I didn't pay any attention. I didn't see anything. Nothing was out of the ordinary. It was just school, right? People wearing and being prideful for their school. And so, anyways, I got in line, and then all of a sudden, I got this huge dread, like I just all over me. And when I look out, there's like this black blob. I don't know what it is. I don't know it, like some form of like smoke or fog, or I don't know what to call it, but it was just this dense black energy, and it was just moving around. I could just feel it. It was like on the opposite side of me, but I could feel everything, like the hate, like, oh, I'm about to come get you. It was like ready, kill, steal, and destroy type of stuff. And so all of a sudden, when I ask myself, I'm like, what is happening? What's going on? Not even a split second after I thought that thought, all of a sudden I start hearing boom, 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 bam, 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 bam. Like just, I don't know if I can say it, but the pew pews, And so I dropped down under the table, bear mode. Like I'm just not, I don't know what's going on. But all of these people that were wearing gray hoodies, they were just falling like flies, and I could see them on the floor. And I was just, like, oh my God, get me out of here. Like, what? And I didn't know what was real or was not real at that moment. At that moment, I was already consumed in this dream or reality, whatever you want to call it. And so then anyways, I look out the door, where's the exit? And I see that being again. And he's just standing there like nothing, just holding the door. And so I'm over here and I'm like bear crawling to him. And I'm like, oh my God, get me out of here. And so we walk out, and we walk into another phase of whatever it is. And it was kind of creepy because there's like a bunch of doors that we went into. And of course, everything that I remember, I kind of have it written down. I can't remember everything fully right now, but I remember going into more doors, and he was showing me things, and I mean things that were on a computer, things that I didn't even understand. I saw like DNA that I like at this moment now is starting to make sense. I'm like, oh, I think that's what I saw, but at that moment I had no idea what I was looking at. And so the reason why I say this first story, because trust me, this is a long ass story that goes on for a while, but when I woke up, okay, after this experience, and I finally touched down after, going through many doors and seeing and experiencing many things that eventually came to pass, on the third day, and I remember this so clearly because my sister-in-law called me and she was freaking out, and she was like, oh my God, we have a friend named Melody, and she had, well, now he's graduated, but she had a son in that school at that time, and luckily she somehow, those stories where it's like you forget your keys, or you can't find your keys, and blah blah blah, blah, one of those. So he made it right on time, and I'll tell you what the actual story is. There was a boy that ended up coming to school and ended up pew-pewing the school. And when I heard about that, that was the first like actual realization before all of these school pew-pewing started to happen like regularly, that was my first experience of having someone pew-pewing the school right next to me. Like that's one of my rival schools, that's they're still in my city. And so anyways, my sister-in-law calls me panicked out, and she's like, dude, you have to watch the news, turn it on. Oh my God, blah, blah, blah. But I didn't tell anybody about this experience. So I'm over here just experiencing and just remembering what I was shown. So anyways, 5 people were pew-pewed, and the shooter plus one person unfortunately passed away. But after I heard this story, and after I saw a little clip of like the school and everything, I was like, oh my God, I was there. That's where I was. And so I got on Google really quick because, Google has all the answers. And so I literally typed in, what are the school colors for this specific school? And the school colors are blue and silver, which I thought were freaking weird. And I was like, no, there's no way. And so literally, just to like wrap up the story really quick, everything that has been pretty much shown to me has been going on and has been occurring slowly. And the things that are not yet have come. I'm like pretty excited about it because I'm just wondering like if this is going on, and I was really shown maybe windows to the future or doors, that possibilities. Like, I wonder if this is another experience with extraterrestrial or whatever beings these were, because it's not like I got abducted and like the stories that you hear, like, oh, I got probed, or like I got, or something like that, like it wasn't anything like that. It was just like doors over doors over doors, and I was just experiencing what that was. So, when I hear now extraterrestrial stories and like people that have gone through these experiences, I take a closer listen and a closer look at this, because I'm like, they might not be lying. They might be telling the truth. And so it's pretty amazing. And, once I touched down, I absolutely told my husband. He didn't believe me, of course. I wrote everything that I could remember down. And till this day, I'm still kind of like, yeah, shaken up about it a little bit, because there's like still more things that are about to come, at least in my reality, that I'm like, okay, well, shit, I don't know the day or the time, but like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't even know if I'm
It's
ready for it, but it's there.
yeah.
Wow.
Have you ever heard of like prophetic dreams by any chance?
I've heard, like, I'm getting into that. I'm really getting into that, because after all of the experiences that I've been having and things that have been going on, I've been getting more into these stories and talking to people like yourselves that are a little bit more open to hearing these stories. Because who do you talk to about this stuff? You know what I mean? Like, who is going to believe that? Like, everybody, like my husband, and then I told my sister-in-law about this, and they didn't believe me. They were like, "Oh yeah, that's just a dream." I just left it like that. I was like, "Okay, yeah, you guys are right." Like, it was just my imagination. But nah, bro. Like, there's something more that is like happening. And like I said, when I hear these stories of abductions, depending on what it is, like, I don't really know about the whole probing thing and the experimenting and all that stuff. I didn't experience that, thank God, but I did experience a lot of information coming at me all at once. And so it was fun, I guess, now that I'm sitting here talking to you, but it wasn't fun in that moment, for sure. It was scary, but I've been waiting for another experience like that. I'm not gonna lie. I've been like, kind of preparing myself to ask questions, and that, you remember, I don't know if you remember me telling you that I was holding on to a lot of that trauma and drama and stress and depression and all that stuff. It wasn't really allowing me to communicate with this being because of everything that I was feeling. And it's not like this being was just able to take that away. It was kind of like something I had to work through it. And even though I was shown so much information, there was still so much information I could have taken in. But because of what I was holding on to, I wasn't allowing myself to like experience the fullness of it. And so now I have, since 2020, I've been on a whole different other healing journey. And honestly, I'm just like waiting. I'm just like, I wonder if I'm ever going to meet that person again, or that being, or whatever it is. And when I do, I want to be prepared for it. I want to be at the level that this being was in, of like complete love and complete honest and complete like acceptance and complete like everything. And I, like, oh, show me, I want to go here, I want to go there, what is this about? Show me this and that and that and this. But unfortunately, that first experience was like the hardest and the scariest for me. But luckily, I'm here, I'm still breathing, and yeah, it's a fucking trip. It's like
Yeah,
a,
I'd
it's
say
like
so.
it's like a crazy shroom trip without the shrooms. It was a lot of fun.
Well, we
Like I
appreciate
said,
you
no,
sharing that with us.
yeah,
That's a doozy.
it is. It is. It would, and now that I think about it, it's just like I can't wait that you guys are the first actual like what can I say, like strangers, I guess, that I've ever talked to about this stuff. So I'm excited, because this just means that I'm opening the door to like, hey, I think I'm ready to talk about this stuff. This stuff is interesting for those who are willing to listen, for those who have had similar experiences. I'm ready to receive that and see what they have experienced and how. I'm not saying, oh, we're going to compare, but like, what are the similarities here? And if by any chance in the future something like that happens, like I want to be prepared with some questions, you know, so I could get answers and stuff like, what are we doing here? What is this? Is this, once again, am I living in the Matrix, or did y'all like put this whole, was I in a simulation? Like, what is this, you know? So after that experience, it did make me look a little deeper into my life and like what I was living into. And I was like, you know, I kind of don't want to be here anymore. And when I say don't want to be here anymore, I'm not talking about unaliving. I'm talking about like emotionally, you know, everything that I was holding on to. And I was like, ugh, this is not necessary. So that experience actually allowed me to go into this healing journey that I have to go through, I guess, so I can, you know, I guess pop on the other side and be cool. I don't know.
Well, we
Yeah.
definitely appreciate you sharing that with us, and hopefully you'll stick around and maybe you can connect with people who have similar experiences and encounters.
I definitely will. And thank you for, you know, having a live like this, because I think you're like maybe the first or second person that I've come across that are like actually talking about the paranormal stuff. So, you know, it's scary, but it's fun to talk about if you haven't had weird, like scary experiences, you know. Um,
Mm-hmm.
these definitely will change your life. It's just a matter of like, when am I going to meet these people? And I hope that this is it. I hope that by me speaking up, I'm opening that to the frequency that I'm supposed to be on, to receiving more people. And maybe we can have a little a community here. You know what I mean? So we'll see what happens. But anyways, thank you guys so much for letting me on.
Yeah, thank you for coming up.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Wow. That was a wild ride.
Yes, it was. See if had a few people drop out. Hello and welcome.
Hi.
Hi, you got a spooky story for us?
Yeah, I've actually got two. So, first of all, I am a psychic medium. I have been acutely aware of my psychic abilities since the age of 5. And even though I couldn't really explain it, I just very intuitively knew certain things throughout life. And when I was younger, I thought, everybody was like that. I thought everybody was clairaudient and clairvoyant and telepathic. I didn't realize that I was different until I started going to elementary school. But so I've had many psychic experiences through my life. I've actually done trans medium for people. I've done psychic readings. I've had tons of prophetic dreams. But there's a couple of experiences that I specifically remember. One of them I think is a glitch in the matrix, which I'm interested to share with you. But I grew up in New York. And when I was in 3rd grade, we moved into this relatively newer house in upstate New York. And like you were saying, we didn't have air conditioning. You had to have the windows open. And I grew up in a very abusive household. My stepmother was very physically abusive. And I was always drawn to a corner of my closet in my bedroom. And I would go into that closet and just sit in the corner, and I would feel totally at peace whenever I was in that corner. I was just always drawn to that corner of the closet for some reason. So one day I was in my bedroom and the window was open because it was the summertime. And my bedroom was on the 2nd floor. And directly underneath my bedroom was, 1 story down was our back deck. And there was a barbecue on the back deck. And my father was barbecuing. And I heard my father's voice call my name, but it wasn't coming from outside the window. It was coming from the corner of the closet. And I distinctively heard it from the closet. And I went over to the window and I said, "What do you want?" And he said, "What are you talking about?" I said, "You just called me." He said, "No, I didn't. I didn't call you." And I turned around, and at that moment, I felt somebody tapping my shoulder. Um, so I've had a lot of experience, a lot of encounters like that. But the one that I always wonder about to this day, because it's never been explained to me, when I was in high school, I worked at a fast food restaurant, and my stepmother came to pick me up from work one day. And it was kind of a small town in upstate New York, but it wasn't like isolated. You know, the restaurant was on a road with lots of other restaurants, lots of cars, you know, shopping centers, grocery stores. And we pull out of the parking lot and we start driving. And we see this man standing on the side of the road. And it was raining very heavily that day. And he was standing there. He was wearing a brown suit. It was kind of like a goldish, yellowish tie, and he was carrying a briefcase. But I looked at his face as we drove by him, and he had no eyes, no nose, no mouth. It was just like forehead, like from the top of his head down to where, you know, his chin was. There, it was just skin. There was no eyes, no nose, no mouth. And I totally thought, I'm seeing things. I didn't say anything. And about 2 seconds later, my stepmother goes, that man looked like he had no face. And I was like, oh my God, did you see that too? And she was like, yeah, I saw that. And like, I've always wondered what that is. I don't know if that's like a glitch in the matrix. I posted a video about that. I made a video about that on my page. It's buried somewhere on my page. And somebody else said, it sounds like a skinwalker. So I'm not really sure. I would be interested to get your opinion. Have you ever heard of anything like that? I'd be interested to see
Um,
what you guys think.
yeah, I mean, it could be just an apparition. It could be, just some type of random paranormal creature. I've heard a lot of stories like that. Actually, a lot of people have had those types of experiences. As usual, we always say here, we don't really know what the paranormal is. It's something, but we don't know what it is. So it's, obviously it's hard to say. But a lot of people do experience something very similar to that. So not at all uncommon,
Mm.
very spooky.
Yeah. I mean, I've had a lot of, like within my house, especially after I would do psychic readings for people. Sometimes, I always try to protect my energy and clear my energy. And I remember doing a reading for a couple. They were fighting quite a bit. They had like a really volatile relationship, and I had been at their house doing a reading for them. And I went home, and my dog was just barking at me like she was terrified. She was barking at me as if I was an intruder. And out of the corner of my eye, I saw a very tall, shadowy figure walk into my bedroom. But the funny thing is I wasn't scared. I walked right into the bedroom right after it. I didn't feel scared. So I've had a lot of experiences like that. But seeing that man with no face, I've just always wondered about that. That's one mystery that's always just stuck with me. And I could never really explain that through any other means.
Yeah. Chris, what do you think? Do you think it's a glitch in the Matrix?
I'm not sure what to think about that one actually. Yeah, that's definitely strange.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
and
for
it was
sure.
on a busy road. I mean, it wasn't like in the middle of nowhere. There was lots of cars. There was, fast food restaurants around us. So it's not like it was in the middle of nowhere either. And he was just standing there in the pouring rain, holding a briefcase, wearing the suit and tie, which was kind of out of place for the location that it was. Um, because in that part of, upstate New York, there's really nobody walking on the side. There's no sidewalks. There's nobody walking. You either have a car or you're kind of, out of luck to get around. So seeing people walking in that town was really unusual in and of itself. And there was no car nearby, like, as if somebody's car had broken down. He was looking, you know, yeah, for a ride or for some help. There was no car nearby or anything. He was just standing there on the side of the road, not even walking, not even moving.
Hmm. Might have been one of the Men in Black. Huh, Sarah?
Oh, he
Yeah,
was
it was
brown. He was wearing a brown suit. Like, I'll never forget. It was brown with like a mustard yellow, but a little bit like goldish tie. It was just really bizarre.
Yeah, that is strange. Well, we really appreciate you sharing that with us. Very spooky, very ominous.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. Have a good evening. Um, I don't know what's going on. Do you like? Is anybody else hearing like a lot of audio problems or like fuzzy sounds or? I don't. Hopefully, it's not distracting. I don't know what it is. I think maybe it's just a bad connection tonight.
Did you take a Walmart melatonin?
No, I haven't done that yet. I plan to later, but I would never do that before the stream because then I would just be sitting here snoring. Um,
Yeah.
uh,
That it sounded like a joke when I said the Men in Black, but that's well, supposedly that's a real thing, right, Sarah? And they don't look like the Will Smith version. Um, I think they're supposed to be aliens themselves, right, Sarah? The Men in Black.
yeah, they're well. I don't know. I hesitate to say that they're a real thing. I mean, you know me. I'm on the fence about everything, but
Yeah.
there are there are um, legends. I guess there's like internet lore that there are alien creatures working for three-letter agencies. So
Hmm.
take that however you want. But I
Yeah.
don't know. But
Have
yeah.
you seen that? Oh, sorry. I'll
No, no, no. Go
talk
ahead.
about
Go
it
ahead.
afterwards. Well,
Go
look.
ahead.
Well, okay. You've seen that video, right, of the Men in Black coming to that guy's work to look for him?
I don't think so, actually.
Okay. Well, I'll send it to you after this.
Okay. Hello, Monica.
Hi everyone. Thanks for letting me on.
Yeah,
My
absolutely.
it's so cool. I've been following you guys for a little bit, and I love what you guys are doing with this channel. I almost wanted to call it channel. I'm on YouTube Brain, sorry. But I love it. Yeah. So my story is a ghost shadow. And there's 3 occurrences. One that involves me. The other 2 involve friends and family, and it's in Germany. So I'm trying to see how I explain this story. So back when I was a teenager, and I'm also a psychic medium myself too. I wanted to share that too. And I've always felt intuitive. And at this time when I had my experience, I was like 24 and I was visiting my aunt and uncle in Germany. And I was definitely watching like Ghost Adventures, Ghost Hunters. But I didn't really realize my abilities. I didn't understand, and I was the same way like the psychic medium before. I was just thinking, oh, everyone else has this ability, and I kind of squashed it. Anyway, so when I was a teenager, my aunt and uncle, as they often do, because they're much closer to Romania, where I'm actually from. That's where we're from. And my aunt and uncle, during communism in Romania, moved to Germany, and then my family and I moved to America. And they went on vacation, and she called my dad frantically after they had gotten back on vacation from Romania. And she said that the house was all messed up, like things looked like someone had been in there, and all of the frames, like the picture frames on the walls, were tilted like sideways almost. And sometimes when she tried to move them back, they wouldn't move back, or she would move them back and then she would go to the grocery store or something, come back, and they were like they were moved back. And so then when I was 24, I visited them, and now they live in a studio. It's a pretty small space that they live in. Actually don't quite know how they do it, but they have like a little bedroom next to the kitchen, and the bathroom is by the entryway. So they had a couch that I slept on because I stayed with them for I think like about a week. And I was in the middle of sleeping. They were passed out. It was maybe like midnight or 1 o'clock in the morning. And in my dream, I am in the room, and it was interesting. It's like I'm living in the dream. And I see this very tall shadow. come up to me, and he's like hovering above me. And he was just about to perform like a sleep paralysis on me until I woke up and I snapped out of it. And I needed to go to the restroom just to kind of clear my head. And I came back and I sat down. And by this time, I had kind of sensed that this shadow was a soldier. And I don't know, but I got the sense that he was like a Nazi soldier and he was very angry. And when I was sitting on the couch, I was telling it the way that I could without actually, I was just mouthing the words because there was no door to, it's really strange. There was no door to the bedroom to my aunt and uncle. So they were like sleeping next to me and I couldn't wake them up. So, and I didn't want to scare them. So I let him know, like, that's not okay. You're not allowed to do that. Matter of fact, I think I've heard about you and you're not allowed to come back here again. And you're not allowed to use any like energy or life force of my aunt or my uncle. You need to go. So then years later, my aunt has a girlfriend that lives down the street from her. And her son, I believe he was like 16 or 17, and he was studying for an exam. And they had yet again left for Romania, and they were on vacation. And they were he needed like a quiet space. So they were like, yeah, go ahead and use the studio. Go, here's the key, whatever. You can go whenever you need some quiet time or whatever to study. This kid had like left, he like ran out of the building, frantically ran back home, told his mom, and then his mom called my aunt while in Romania. And she's like, my son's freaking out. And she's like, why? What happened? So apparently while he was just sitting there studying, this black shadow appeared out of nowhere, frightened him, and he like even left his textbooks, everything. He just like ran out of the studio apartment, like ran out of the building, ran straight to his house. So I actually have a YouTube series, and I'm planning to go back this year to Romania. Actually, I want to go investigate Vlad Castle. And on my way there, I want to go see my aunt and kind of get a little bit more information about this guy, like why he's so angry, what's going on with him, why is he attacking my family, why is he showing up, and frightening strangers and friends and family. So yeah, it's a little strange, and it was quite shocking. But yeah, that's basically my story, and hopefully in the future, later in the year, I can come back and tell you guys what happened.
Yeah, definitely come back with an update when you have one. It's really interesting and very spooky.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
Well, we
Have a good-
appreciate you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
You too. Good night. Nice sheep squatch video. Did you like it? Chris said that it was confusing. And so I'm thinking like, oh no, it was confusing. I didn't do a good job explaining.
No, I mean it wasn't. I mean you did a good job. It's just I think it's a really odd creature.
Yeah.
I guess. Yeah.
All right, guys, we got 18,000 likes. Very cool. Everybody keep tapping the screen. I don't know what happened early on, but we kind of like bottomed out in numbers. So let's get some people in here because more people means more ghost stories. More hearts means more people.
Oh,
Hello.
hello. Let
Hello.
me turn this up real quick. So I'm actually a little surprised that I kind of fell across the whole paranormal talk because, usually I spend most of my time over on the witch talk, pagan talk, and whatnot. But I'm actually part of technically two different paranormal groups, one that is local, and then one that's based out of California, which I help them out online, and I act essentially as their archivist. But I was kind of excited to see that, you guys were talking about ghost stories and whatnot because of, I have quite a few different experiences that I've dealt with myself. I suppose one in particular that kind of stuck out that I figured I would discuss was an incident that happened in 2011 where I was living next door to a friend of mine, and a former friend of ours was complaining about some problematic experiences on his property. So at the time, I had downloaded it was some app on the phone where they pick up the electromagnetic fields and then translate it into words, like one of those type of detectors. And my best friend and I, and then I believe it was her kids and their friends, had gone up there with us because this particular individual was like, he was too afraid to even leave his house because of what was going on out there. So we go to the property, and myself and my best friend are there walking around the property trying to figure out what's going on. And we go to this area near the pump house, and the little device thingy on the phone literally says leave. So it's like, okay, whatever. And we go more towards the back of the property, and there's this little creek that separates a section of the property where there's trees that kind of form like a bower, if you will, like over covering kind of the like as you're looking down the creek area, it makes like an archway. But as we're looking through this archway that the trees are making in the water, we see this like little shape that I assumed it was a raccoon. It was small. It was just this little, and then it stood up, and it was probably taller than I am, and I'm 6'3". So we kind of look at each other and we nod. We're like, we're just going to turn around and walk away. So we literally, like, everybody just turned around, didn't look back, and walked about a mile back into town. And near as I can figure, I would assume that it was an elemental. That's my best guess as far as that's concerned. But, that's just one of many different experiences that I've encountered myself.
Very cool. We actually tend to have a lot of stories on here about that. And by the way, thank you, Jesse, so much for the heart thing. We do have a lot of those stories. We have a lot of Native Americans come and share Native stories here as well, and they talk about that a lot. Lodge Tales podcast, if you've ever heard of that account, it's a very good account. You should definitely check him out. He tells us a lot of stories like that. And we have another regular, Ali. I don't know if Ali's here tonight, but yeah, we do get some stories like that. It's very cool.
And like I was explaining in there too, when you follow certain spiritual paths, it's more commonplace to find yourself encountering these things more frequently than others because of the type of environment that you put yourself in, and especially with things like what I practice, which of course is Druidry. You're dealing with a lot of ancestor worship, or dealing with the dead, or again with polytheism, and even working with the she. So supernatural occurrences tend to be more frequent, I guess you could say. But yeah, I figured I'd just kind of throw a story in there for you guys, and
Yeah, we appreciate it. Very cool,
problem.
very interesting.
Mhm.
Thank you for coming up.
Absolutely. Let me close out of
Thank
this
you.
thing for you.
I get you. Yeah, we have a lot of stories like that. It's actually really cool to hear those. Because it's not really something that I personally know much about, and so anytime we have those types of stories, I always really like hearing them.
Right.
Chris, you were going to tell us something. What was it?
Was that? When?
I thought you were. I was trying to hurry and get to everybody because it's so funny. Like, this always happens. We'll sit here at the beginning of the stream for like 15, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and like we won't have anybody. And then all of a sudden there'll be like 5 people in the box.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh no, I don't want to make everybody wait. I want to try to hurry and get to them. So I've been kind of like trying to rush through and get, so everybody gets a chance to come up. Yeah, Druid Nightshade, that was a really cool story. Hopefully, you will stick around and come back to the stream because usually Ollie and Lodge Tales and Chief and who's there's some others that come and share those types of stories, and I think you would probably really appreciate those. They're really cool. But yeah, definitely stick around. And um, I saw somebody said that they had a story. The guest box is open, guys. If anybody wants to come up, share your spookiest spooky story. It could be about the paranormal. It could be about Mothman. It could be about extraterrestrials, alien abduction. It can't be about butt cheeks like that first guy. I hope his TikTok crashes tonight. I hope he can't watch videos in bed.
Yeah.
Glitch in the Matrix stories, cryptid stories, Loch Ness monster stories, and you guys know what's really funny is that I always throw in like that we're looking for Loch Ness monster stories, and Chris is like, "It's never gonna happen." And then guess what? The one night he wasn't here last week, it happened. We finally got a Loch Ness monster story.
Yeah.
And so I quickly sent him a message to gloat to be like, "Hey, guess what? Got a water monster story."
Well, what did the guy say exactly?
It was actually really terrifying. Okay,
Was it?
I don't remember all the details of it, but basically what he was saying was that what was the name of it? Crustacean Claude or something like that. I don't know. I can't remember its name, but it was in
Yeah.
Oregon. What was his name? Was it Claude something? Maybe Cat Mama might remember because she was up here. But anyway, they went out on a boat and it was at night, and there was something, I guess, kind of came up underneath them, and they could hear it, but it was like it was emitting this weird low frequency. So it was like this enormous creature that was making like a noise in the water. It was trippy. It was really terrifying.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. Um, Ogopogo. Yep, in the Pacific Northwest. Familiar with that. Colossal Claude. That's what it was. I was thinking crustacean Claude. Well, I was close. Um, but yeah, that was cool. So if anybody has any stories, feel free to hop up here and share them. Chris, won't you ramble us out a story about something spooky? Tell us
Well,
something.
well, I was just gonna say I really like the ocean stories. I think they're really interesting because the ocean is scary, and yeah. You know what I like to do? I like to go on YouTube and look for people that have like 2 subscribers, just like nobodies, and listen to their stories because sometimes they have the best stories. Because if you go to somebody that has like millions of followers, I feel like their ghost stories or paranormal stories are BS. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do.
Um, and this reminds me of one story I heard some girl tell. She said that she went out on a boat with her dad, and they were out there in the middle of the ocean, and so they were just there, and they saw. She says that they saw this like creature poke out of the water, just like the top of its head and its eyes, and it was just staring at them for like the longest time, and they were just kind of like frozen, like, what do we do, like, um and it just looked at them for a while, and then it just like went back into the water, and they booked it out of there. And I don't know. I mean, what do you think about that, sir? You think that could have been some normal ocean animal?
I think the ocean is so full of unknown crap. There's just no way to know. You know,
Yeah.
who knows what could be down there? And
Yeah.
especially like when you get out around the trenches and stuff, like the Mariana Trench. I mean, scientifically speaking, there are creatures that will absolutely grow as big as their environment allows for. Oh, thank you for the roses. There was somebody sent something a minute ago, and I was trying to be like, "Thank you," without like interrupting the guest. Thank
Yeah.
you for that before. but yeah, like the Mariana Trench, God, that is nightmare fuel. I think it's scarier than space in a way, but
Yeah.
also like I don't know if I had to get lost in one of them. I don't know which one I'd pick.
Right.
um, so who knows what could be kind of creeping around down there? Oh, we had somebody, and then they got abducted. They
Hmm.
got zapped by aliens. Let's see. I saw somebody earlier in the comments. I think her name was Gina. I don't know if she's still here. She was like, "Please tell me the Earth is round." Yes, Gina, the Earth is round.
Yeah.
It absolutely is round. We don't do that type of baloney here.
Yeah,
You know,
that.
I'll tell you like a little short, kind of cool story. It's a good memory for me. Just something really cool because good things, like, I'm not the type of person that gets lucky and has like cool things happen to them. I generally have bad luck.
Yeah.
Despite all of my clovers that I'm wearing right now, and despite the fact that I'm as Irish as Conan O'Brien, but happy St. Patrick's Day, guys. But anyway, we should just call it Drinking Day. Happy Drinking Day. Happy Green Spaghetti Day. Anyway, I was out walking one night on the college campus nearby where I lived, and there was a group of people gathered around on the front kind of patio thing of the astronomy center, and just like a whole bunch of people, and they had these apparatuses, and I was like, "Ooh, what's going on over there?" So I was kind of looking at them, like giving them a little bit of side eye out of curiosity. And this older guy kind of yelled out to me, and he's like, "Hey, have you ever seen some planet? I don't remember. This has been years ago. Some planet or something." And I was like, "No, but I would like to." He's like, "Come on over here and join us if you want." So I was like, "Yeah, you don't have to ask me twice." So I kind of go over there, and it's these two scientists guy from I don't know. They sound like they were maybe German or something. Like they had accents, and they had these telescopes that were as big around as like, oh my god, like a car tire, maybe bigger around than that. I mean, we're talking about probably $100,000 type of telescopes,
Yeah.
and and they were just like the craziest things. I'd never seen anything like that in person, and they were observing something that was visible for the first time or something. Like there was like some type of special astrological event, and I got to look at a bunch of stuff through this telescope. And I'll tell you, first things first, everything's round. I saw it. I saw it all real good. Got a good look at it. Everything's round. I don't know why the Earth wouldn't be if everything else is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Everything is a perfect round ball. I don't care what any of you flat earthers say, but it was so sensitive. The one thing that everybody was primarily there to see is that he would adjust the thing, and he'd be like, "Okay, hurry and look." And I would look real quick, and I would just get to see it go zoom off the screen. So I was like barely getting a glimpse at this thing because it was so far away. And then he would adjust it, and then I would look again real quick. And that's how sensitive this telescope was, is that it was like you could barely catch a glimpse of it if you didn't know what the Earth is a pear. Maybe the Earth is a triangle. Illuminati confirmed. Anyway, that's a joke. No, the Earth is round, and all the other crap up there floating around in space is round too. Gina, you are still here. Yeah, I saw you down there in the comments. But yeah, it was like, God, it was amazing. It was one of the most amazing things I ever got to experience because I'm a big space nerd, you know.
Yeah.
And I don't know as much about science stuff like that as I wish I did, but super cool. Once in a lifetime opportunity for me, probably, to get to see something like that.
Right. Yeah, that is cool. I've heard you talk about that story before on one of your past live streams.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think I just heard it yesterday.
Really? That like the same
Yeah.
story I just told?
Yeah, same one.
Yeah, sometimes I have to recycle stories, Chris, because I've only got so many. I've only got so many,
Hey,
but there's
why'd
always
you,
different people here. So,
yeah, why don't you come up with some new material, all right?
I'll just start flat out lying. That's what all the big TikTokers do, right? That's how they get their millions. Is they just make it up. And here I am with my boring true stories that I just retell over and over and over. But yeah, so
Yeah.
sorry, Meemaw's telling the same story again at the dinner table.
Yeah, it's
You
time
know.
to go to bed. Time to go to bed, sir. No, I'm just kidding. No, you know the other day I was no, seriously though. Going back to your other story about you running over the dog man. I was looking up. There's photos online of like pet alligators that have escaped or gotten released in Kentucky. And yeah, I don't think that's what you guys ran over. Um, yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, back in the 90s, there was, um, I don't know if there was like a rash of sightings or if it was just one or two sightings. I don't know if it was like an isolated incident, but this was before the internet, so nobody could really keep tabs on things. And it was like a big game of telephone when the story traveled through the community. But there were alligator sightings in like the Cave Run Lake and then the Grayson Lake in Carter County.
Yeah,
Um, and a lot of times like stuff like that would turn out to not be true, or you would think that maybe it's not true because like Kentucky's not the coldest state. We don't get brutal winters, but I mean we have winter for like January and February, so I don't think an alligator would fare very well in these types of climates. But Mothman mixed with a moth.
equals
Oh,
Mothman.
now I'm thinking about that Mothman meme that you sent me the other night on Instagram.
Oh
Holy
God,
cow.
don't
You
bring that one.
that inspired me. Listen, guys, I gotta tell you all something. This is a bit of a spoiler, but I'm gonna tell you about it anyway. Hopefully TikTok doesn't get snatched away from us by the powers that be. And if they do, go to the other video place where I'm also at so that we don't lose each other in this big void of existence. But
Yeah.
so I'm going to write cryptid smut. It's something I want to do. There's like a big market right now for smut. And I probably shouldn't tell you guys this because then somebody will steal my idea. Okay, listen, you steal my idea, I sue. I have the market on the cryptid smut. Okay, just throwing it out there. Nobody take my idea. Um, Also, I don't know. I've had this idea for a long time about like what happens if werewolves come out of the woods and they walk past a Starbucks on a moonlit night and they suddenly turn into girls with like Uggs boots on. Like I don't know. It feels like a solid idea that I should kind of work out a little bit. Um, but yeah, I'm gonna write cryptid smut, guys. Mothman, Bigfoot, Nessie. I don't know how that would work.
Sarah, are you okay?
Am I okay?
Yeah.
Man, this is late stage capitalism. No, I'm not okay. Of course I'm not. Okay, Chris. What does that mean? How does it go? It's like you just have to say you're okay, but you're not okay. You're not
Oh,
okay.
yeah, I love that one, the Katy Perry.
I have no idea.
Yeah,
I'm
I know.
not I'm not real well versed on modern pop culture stuff. All
Yeah, I
right,
love it.
guys. I'm tired of hearing myself. So somebody get up here in the box and talk about something. Holy hell, I have lost the plot. Uh,
We're
we
off the
live in
rails.
Utah. I have gone on. I'm a crazy train off the rails, man. Matt Bortles, he says he'll read my cryptid smut. I'm probably going to start with Squatch, but I'm kind of going back and forth on the concept behind it. But I'm thinking like 7 days in the woods, shagged by a squatch, something along those lines. I don't know. It's gonna be nasty. I'm gonna try to make it as like vile and repugnant as I possibly can, but also still romantic. I want it to be a love story at its core.
Right.
Um, oh Lord Jesus! All right, let's get back on track here. Somebody come up here and tell a story that makes sense, because
Yeah.
mine are not making sense at this point. Be
You know
careful
what?
what you ask for.
Right. Where's Cat Mama? Cat Mama, you are so fired, and also we gotta make fun of you because you fell asleep on the last live. You big nerd.
Oh, I felt so bad because, like, I don't know. She
No,
hung
she
out with us for so.
yeah, she did. She tries hard.
Yeah, yeah, she's a trooper. She come up here and she hung out with us way late into the night. Um, but Utah vampires, man, I wish I was a vampire. Do you know what I would do if I was a vampire? I ain't even gonna tell you.
What?
I ain't gonna tell
Oh,
you.
okay.
Because I can't. First of all, otherwise I would. Um,
Um, I was watching that weird realities video, the stream yesterday,
mhm. Yeah, totally
and
stream. Yeah.
I thought it was funny how I forget the lady's name, but she's like, "What is that? Go back. There's a shadow and it's moving," and they were like going back on the video, and then Tully or the other guy were like, "That's a leaf," and it was just like a leaf hanging on a branch, but that happened like a couple times during the video, and I thought it was funny. But I mean, that just goes to show you, like, with a lot of these things, it's like, people see stuff all the time, and it could just be nothing. You know what I mean?
Well, and another thing that you always have to watch out for when you're looking for paranormal evidence is like because of like it's an evolutionary thing that we have the ability to try to recognize when we're in danger. So we
Right.
get this effect called pareidolia, where you will see your brain will basically try to make sense of chaos to protect you from predators. And I'm
Yeah.
sure, like, I don't know, animals probably do it too. Because, like, have you ever seen a cat come across like a stuffed animal or something that it's never met before? They will jump 20 feet in the air and lose their shit over it. But humans do it. It's a very visual thing, and yeah, pareidolia is a big thing. And I'm going to stop talking about that though. But cucumbers, oh man, guys, don't ever throw cucumbers at your cats, please. It's so mean. Harry is coming up to talk to us.
Hey, Harry.
Hey, what's up?
How you
This
doing?
is I don't pretty good. How are you? How was your day today?
Same old, same old.
Yeah, same here. This isn't really paranormal. It might be cryptic. I don't know. But this is it's been a long time ago. Me and my two brothers were fishing on a private lake, and we're, you know, each of us, were about 190, 200 pounds each at that time, and three of us in a boat. And we were rowing in. It was dark, and something hit the side of our boat. It moved us over about a foot in the water. We have no idea what it was. Like I said, it was really dark, but it was just an aluminum boat. But the three of us in it, something slapped it and moved it. I don't know what it was. Was it a big carp, big something? I have no clue. But scared the crap out of us.
Hmm.
Yeah, I'd say so. I don't think they print the right color of money to get me on a boat, especially if it's like super deep water. Lodge Tales, thank you so much, and thank you for Harry
Well,
too, and for Chris.
yes, thank
Yeah,
you.
no, that
Thank you.
is terrifying though. To be on a boat.
Uh,
Did you say it was it dark when that happened?
Oh yeah, we were out there. We went out in the evening for bass fishing, and we come in at dark, and the weeds get so thick, it'd slow us right down, and whatever was there, I don't know. Like I said, we couldn't see it. We didn't have no lights. It's a private lake. You didn't have to have boat lights or anything like that. So like I said, I cannot say what it was.
And where was this at?
It's in Michigan, just a little private lake in Michigan,
Oh, okay.
and
Hmm.
it scared the hell out of us.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
yeah,
interesting.
definitely, definitely
And
scary.
we've had oh, I was out deer hunting, and I've had something I couldn't tell what it was. It was too dark. Something came up behind me and growled at me. I have no clue what it was. I don't know. It could have been a coyote, could have been anything, but still, it's a scary thing when you're out there and your senses play tricks on you because you can't see nothing, and something growls at you.
Yeah, yeah, that is spooky. Did it sound like it was big?
Eh, it was deep enough to be sound of good size, but
Hmm.
it was too dark to see.
Yeah, it could have been a big
But
fish, maybe.
Not the one growling at him.
Oh, did you say it growled? It growled?
yeah, I've heard fish bark. Remember?
Oh man.
Yeah, no, we're talking about a land creature now.
Oh, I got distracted. Sorry.
Oh yeah, but the water creatures, God have mercy, I'm terrified of water. You know, I can't swim. I Everybody in the world's like, I can teach you to swim, and then they can't. I literally can't swim. Like nobody can teach me. It's something I've never. I'm not going to be able to do. It's not going to happen. I've given up on it. But I don't like water. And it's funny because I used to live right by the ocean in Florida. It's okay from a
this little
distance, but
Yeah.
this little private lake, it's about 50 foot deep in one spot, but no matter where you're at, the water's black, and that's what makes it even more spooky because you can't see the bottom anywhere you go.
yeah,
Yeah.
my nerves couldn't handle that.
But
Are
the
you
fishing
much of
was
a
good there.
swimmer? Yeah, I'd say
I can
so.
handle. I can. I can swim if I have to.
Yeah. Yeah, well, you all have
But
got, so much weird animal activity up there where you live. There's no way of knowing what kind of stuff you might come across. And two, you also have to take into consideration a lot of these creatures, like Squatch, for example. He could stand right, right close to you, and you probably wouldn't even see him because he's camouflaged, because he's usually
right,
the same color as the trees in the area. So there was the guy come on the other night. I don't know if you were here, Harry, but the guy, I think it was the same guy that told the sea monster story of Creepy Claude in Oregon or whatever his name was. He also told a Bigfoot story. Were you here to catch that?
yeah, yeah, it was.
That was a wild one. Yeah.
Yes, it was. But that was all I had. I just wanted to come on, share it.
Yeah, it's always good to hear from you, Harry, and we appreciate you. And hopefully you hang out with us for a little while.
Oh, I'll be here.
Alrighty. Have a good night.
All right. Yeah, you too. Night.
Man.
Awesome.
Now I'm gonna get made fun of that for that also. Now, whenever you guys are looking at a potential creature, you guys are gonna be like, "Oh, maybe it's a fish."
Does the fish growl? It's kind of like, do the chickens have large talons? I don't know. Get a big old life jacket and some arm floaties. Oh, I know I would be adorable, but I just can't. I can't do it. Um, what about Quill? Fish Squatch. Yes, Fish Squatch. Oh my God. Yes, the chat has invented a new cryptid.
Fish
Glitch of the
watch.
Matrix is back on the background. Joel. It was always there. It was never gone to begin with.
Yeah.
Go with me
Yeah.
on this, Chris.
Yeah. You know what though? You know what I didn't know about Mothman? Because I was watching a video about him recently, yesterday actually, just to kind of refresh my memory about the story. And I wasn't aware of the Smiling Man. I forget what's his name, sir. Do you know?
The Smiling Man?
Yeah. So around how did it go? It was around the time one of the Mothman encounters happened. Uh, there was a UFO that was seen that was like in the shape of a lantern or something, like a really odd shaped UFO, and it stopped a car in the road, and this man came out and came to the window and was talking to the person that was driving, and he had like a big grin on his face, like those creepy people in that movie Smile.
Mm-hmm.
And I forget the details, but he's somehow linked to the Mothman. So didn't know about that, but it is a thing though. I'm gonna have to Google it so I can tell you guys the name.
Yeah, the only thing that's coming to mind, let me go get a book. I can still hear you and talk to you. In one of my UFO books,
Oh,
there was a UFO case out of Portsmouth, Ohio. I think it was back in the I don't know, maybe 70s or 80s, and they had an encounter with 100% like that. But I never found out what it was. Like crawled around and moved the chairs and was it
yeah. Indrid Cold is the guy. Druid Nightshade. Thank you. Yeah, we can't hear you, Sarah. So,
you can't hear me?
oh well, now we can.
Well, I
But you
wasn't
could.
talking.
Oh well, you were, and then you like got further away.
I know that like I'm usually always talking, but sometimes I do take a break from talking. So that's all. It was just a pause.
Um,
I was just taking a breather.
right, but it's yeah, that's the guy, Indrid Cold. So didn't know about that until yesterday.
I'll look this up because I'm not sure. Um, we got anybody in the box?
You don't.
Hmm.
If anybody has a story, you guys can come up and tell us.
Yeah, get up here and tell us your spookiest spooky story. We want to hear the one that scared you the most, the one that you've never been able to rationalize or explain away. That's the one we want to hear. Where is that damn story at? It's in this book somewhere. Um, you saw a Mothman?
Are you
And
joking with us?
yeah, their name is Mothman. I believe that's Mothman's wife, so she's
Yeah,
naturally going to be biased.
you have a
Uh,
guess.
we're going to give you a chance. You better not be a troll.
Oh my gosh, yeah, I'm not a troll, but I am sick.
Oh, I'm sorry to
This
hear you're
was
sick.
like, I don't know, January this year. And I've always been obsessed with Mothman. Man, my name on here. This is not. That's like what I put as my government name because I didn't want my real name on TikTok ever. Okay, so let's get to the story. I was driving from Virginia Beach to Connecticut, and this was an overnight drive. And I got taken off the highway in rural Pennsylvania, like the Poconos. And it was kind of like a little bit flurry, almost snow, but not quite. And I was driving, it was right before I got off the highway, and the reason I pulled off the highway. So it was dark. I was with other cars, and all of us reacted to the same thing, which was the part that kind of reinforced that I actually saw what I saw because everybody slammed on their brakes, not just me. So I'm assuming it would be Mothman, but I guess it could be like Jersey Devil, maybe. But this was like, I would say about the size of like a helicopter, in the middle of the sky. And it was pitch black. And it almost looked like, just a humongous bat. Like a bat that you cannot comprehend the size of. And
Wow.
it was like, there's like a blob in the sky that kind of opened its wings like this picture that you have behind you. There was no red eyes. I couldn't make out a head. I was alone in my car. This was about 1:30 in the morning as well. So, yeah, somebody says pterodactyl. Basically, it was huge. Like, bigger than anything I could have ever comprehended to be an animal that flew. So everybody slams on their brakes, and then we're all just kind of driving again, and I pull off the highway, and I start going down back roads because I don't know, why would that be a bad I don't know, I had to get off the highway. I just didn't want to be there anymore. And I just immediately called my boyfriend just so he knew that, you know, I was alive and that I saw something really crazy. So yeah, that's really all I can say about it. But I did see like a helicopter-sized giant bat thing basically swoop down at the highway and then fly over the highway.
Wow.
But we didn't see any red eyes. Just a
Yeah.
giant, crazy black. We couldn't see any eyes. It just looked like a giant bat, essentially.
Yeah. I don't know, is maybe someone in the chat knows if the red eyes is part of the original description of
It
Mothman,
is.
because
It is.
yeah, I couldn't remember
I've
right
studied
off.
it and I've looked. You know, I love cryptid stuff. I've never seen anything ever like that, and I've gone places like looking to see things. So we could. I mean, it was high up in the sky. I'd say this was 100, 200 feet up, and then it like dived down towards the cars, which is when everybody slammed on their brakes. And then it opened its wings and flew over everybody in the opposite direction we were going. So it was basically like a freaking dragon.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
And it
That's
was
awesome.
January 15th, I believe, in the Pocono region of Pennsylvania. The other cars and I, so it's just responding to the comment because everybody slammed on their brakes.
Yeah, they may have came in late, but yeah, I knew what you meant. That's amazing because I'm so skeptical of Mothman, but he's from around my hometown area, close to it, and so many people, have experience. That's really interesting, really neat.
I actually called my dad, he's from Pennsylvania, and I was like, hey, have you ever seen, I know there's a lot of bats there. There's a lot of bats. And I was like, have you ever seen like a really, really big bat? Just something that you could almost not explain in Pennsylvania. And he's like, well, that's where Mothman hangs out. And I was like, you literally said the opposite of what I wanted you to tell me. I didn't see it. But yeah, all I saw was a shape and the dive bombing of the highway, which was terrifying, and why I got off the highway. Which, looking back now, probably shouldn't get off. Just stay on the fast road, probably.
Yeah, hang with the other cars, stay with traffic.
Yeah, I was like, wow, this is why people, fall in horror movies or, can't open the door. Like, you just make really irrational decisions when you're put into a situation you don't know how to react to.
Yeah, exactly.
But I didn't report it. I don't know if any of the other drivers did. Nobody else pulled off with me. I know I ran a red light. As soon as I got off that highway, I just kept going. I was terrified.
I'd say, yeah, it would be too. Wow.
Yeah, I think it was just the size that was scary. Seeing a bat
Yeah,
isn't
'cause-
scary.
Yeah, something that big. I mean, we don't really have animals like that in the United States that fly and are even close to that big. Like, I can't even think of maybe like what's that one big bird in like Australia? But I don't know. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
we appreciate you
definitely.
sharing that with us. Is
Oh,
that our
yeah.
first, Chris? Is that our first Mothman story?
Yeah, and I'm happy because I've been waiting for a Mothman story. He's my favorite cryptid, and Sarah got her Loch Ness monster story, so now I got my Mothman one.
Oh, that's great. Well, I'm glad that I popped in because I was actually about to get off TikTok and I saw this and was like, oh my God, I've never told this story to anybody besides my boyfriend and dad. Because you don't just go around telling people you saw a cryptid. People think you're freaking insane.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
but yeah, it was
Well,
in the mountain region, in the right area. So the only thing I could think of would be Mothman, unless it's the Jersey Devil. But I don't think the Jersey Devil is supposed to be big like that.
I don't think so.
I don't know though, but you know, all of the accounts kind of. I was in a car. I feel like most people are in a car when they see Mothman as well. So maybe go drive around the Poconos if you want to go see the Mothman.
Yeah.
Yeah. All
Good
right, well, I'm gonna
advice. Maybe
pop
we'll
off.
try that. Well, thank you so much for sharing that with us. We appreciate
Yeah,
it.
I'll follow you
Yeah,
so I can
thank
see
you.
see your stuff again.
Awesome. Appreciate it.
Okay, bye everybody. Have a good night.
Bye.
Bye.
You
Thank
too.
you.
Awesome.
So
We
cool.
got a Mothman story.
Yeah. I think I don't know. I like to think he's real. I know it's a reach, but I love Mothman.
So, Joel wants to know if cryptids are hidden creatures or from outer space. Maybe they're both. Uh, no, I mean, cryptozoology is just, we were talking about this earlier. I don't know if you were here yet, Joel, but there are a lot of animals that were considered cryptid creatures at one point in time, like a kangaroo. Listen, imagine this. Imagine hearing a story, like pretend we don't know that kangaroos exist. And you hear someone say, I saw a 7 foot tall creature and it had like a face like a dog, but it kind of looked like a mouse. But it had these little T Rex arms, but it had these big giant legs that bend like a frog, and it had a big long tail like a, I don't know, what kind of tail they got. You know what I mean? Like a big old freaky looking hairless tail.
Yeah.
People would think that they're nuts. I mean, but it's a kangaroo. See what I mean? So like cryptids, I think that's what's so exciting about cryptids is at one point in time, a lot of the animals that we know and love today were cryptid creatures, and nobody believed in them. Silverback gorilla is one of them. I had a list somewhere because for some reason I can never remember. Imagine if somebody saw an aardvark for the first time.
Right.
How crazy would that be? So it's just like, these are like natural sounding things that could actually exist. That's what makes them so interesting to me. Ansel, something she described as Mothman. There have been Mothman sightings in Chicago. What was it? I feel like it was 2017. There was a bouncer at a nightclub. He claimed that he was outside of the club, I don't know, doing whatever, like in the late evening. It was still daylight out, and he saw a Mothman. So that's in Chicago. Chris, you want to get the next guest, and I'm going to go release the Kraken.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
I'm going to quit. I'll quit saying that, I promise. Maybe.
Okay, go for it. I got it. Hey, what's going on?
Hello.
Hey, what's up, dude?
How's it going?
Pretty good. You got a story for us?
Yeah, I do got a story, and it's kind of weird because I don't know if I like necessarily I don't know really how to quite like take it, but it was a pretty weird experience for me. So I was in high school, and when I was in high school, I was really big into Civil War reenacting, right? And we were at this reenactment, um, and it was at this veteran cemetery that had like thousands of people buried in it, and it was actually grounds of a poor farm as well, and there was a lot of unmarked graves of people like basically society's undesirables. And like it was like 3 in the morning, and I was right by the field kitchen, and it basically had a whole bunch of pots and pans um like hanging up, and I heard someone just like punch the fuck out of them or like clatter them. It made a huge noise. I woke up and I looked outside, and right by where we were camped out, there was like this road that had like headlights over it, or like road lights.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously they were shining on the road, but I saw someone like walking. Like it was a very, very, like probably the darkest shadow I've ever seen in my life. And it was at night. And yet it contrasted with the night and was darker than that. And I was walking and then I saw it pass right through one of the headlights or one of the lights, the lamps. And it had like this red, almost looked like a lantern. And it was just glowing like a really, really bright red. And I didn't really think much of it until I noticed like this person is walking underneath the light and they're still black as can be. And I just thought that was the strangest thing ever. And I put on my glasses and it disappeared. And so yeah, that's my story.
Yeah, that is strange. What do you think? Did you hear that, Sarah?
Yeah, it sounds like a shadow person.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I mean, it weirded me the fuck out because no one else heard the banging, and no one else was up that night either. I asked, I was like, "Hey, was there anyone around like up around like 3?" No, it was kind of
Yeah.
weird.
Yeah, that's the way you described it as being like, because that's always anytime that I've ever heard a shadow person story, that's the biggest observation that people generally make is that they're darker than dark. Like if you're looking into like a dark room or someplace where your eyes are just having a lot of trouble adjusting, like it feels like it's a deeper shade than that. Um, but yeah, lots of people see shadow people. I've seen one myself. Really weird, and they're very disconcerting. But I think the general consensus is they're just curious and they're not really malicious or anything. But yeah, it's pretty spooky though.
Yeah, it freaked me the fuck out. I did not go to sleep for the rest of the night.
I bet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you say that you had never had a paranormal experience before this
No,
happened?
I never had. It just weirded me out, and like you don't really think anything can be darker than dark until you actually see it, and it's just so unnerving. Yeah.
Have you had an experience since then?
No, I wouldn't say that. No, I don't think so. Um, well, actually, no, that's actually not true. So, um, so I was at work, right? I work in EMS,
Mm-hmm.
and I was at the station, and this was about 2:45 in the morning. I was laying in my room, and I just fucking knocking on my door, like in threes, and like pretty loud, like hard knocks. And I thought it was my partner, and I opened up the door, and he wasn't there. He was in his bedroom, and I closed the door, and it started happening again. I actually got it on film. And then it's just weird because now that when I looked back at the film, I heard like this, like it sounded like a clock ticking, and like it's weird. It was really weird situation. I asked him if he was up last night. He said no. Um, yeah, that's probably the only other paranormal story I have. I don't know.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
creepy.
that's definitely creepy. Yeah. Well, we appreciate you coming up, and hopefully you'll hang out and listen to some stories with us. And thank you so much for coming up.
No
Yeah,
problem. You guys have a good rest of your night.
You
you
too.
too.
I love it when like people who have never had experiences before have like a really intense experience because
Yeah.
like I always say, the paranormal, I don't know what it is, but it's definitely something. And there's really no better way to experience it than to just have like a really robust experience all at once for your first time. And
Right.
I don't know, I find those stories so exciting because to me, it makes it feel more real because I think personally I'm always kind of like searching for answers in the paranormal and like second guessing myself, my own experiences and stuff like that. And um you know, when you have people who are like, I don't believe in this stuff and I never had an experience, and then all of a sudden this crazy thing happened to me, it makes it feel like a valid, like a real thing. You know, I don't know. Maybe that doesn't make sense. It made sense in my head, but I
No, it
don't
makes
know.
sense. Yeah. And it's like Zach Bagans when he's like, I never believed in ghosts until I came face to face with one.
I don't believe in Zach Vegas.
No, yeah, I was just making a joke because it's so cheesy.
Zach Bagans is not real. He can't hurt you. Oh, we had a person before I could click accept. She got abducted. Um, yeah, definitely it validates the belief. Yeah. Um, Guest box is open, folks. If anybody has a spooky story, it doesn't even have to be paranormal. It can just be something super freaking weird that happened to you one time. But we want your spookiest of spooky stories. That's the one we want to hear, the one that freaked you out the most. Um, I almost ran a ghost over. How in the world did that happen? How'd that work? Still very skeptical, even though I've had little experiences here and there. Yeah, um, I kind of, you know, like I said, I second guess myself a lot with a lot of the experiences that I've had. It's hard to wrap your brain around this stuff. It's really difficult.
Yeah. Sarah, when you went to the Paramount, was that the only time you went to do like the ghost hunting thing?
Yeah, for ghost hunting, that was the only
Yeah.
time. But I've been there dozens of times before. I've seen plays there and stuff like that when I was a kid, and
Yeah.
I was supposed to, I thought, because when we did that investigation, she said something about, you know, if we do this again next year, you know, if you want to come back.
Hmm.
I was like, yeah, definitely. I'd definitely be interested in coming back. But I don't know if they did it last Halloween. I don't remember seeing any promos for it, so I didn't get to do it a second time. But I was actually really looking forward to doing it a second time. Um, I
Yeah.
don't know.
And I can't remember. Did you experience anything while you were there doing the ghost hunting?
Yeah, there were weird things there, but nothing like too crazy. Probably the only thing that was really significant was we were down in the pit. And so, for anybody who doesn't know, I have a whole video on this over on the other video place where I investigated the Paramount Theater in Ashland, Kentucky in 2022. Um, I was like one of the guest hosts or whatever. So basically, the theater sold tickets to just the public, people who are interested in ghost hunting. And then those people came that night and got broken up into groups. And one of us, one of the hosts, took them around and ghost hunted with them. And so I had a group of about 15 to 20 people or something like that. And I think it was pretty early in the night, if I remember correctly. We were down in the pit, which is basically underneath the stage. And there's like this big open area and stuff. And there's like a dark hallway and then like another dark hallway. And it wasn't, I don't know, it wasn't outright spooky down there. But it just felt like you could kind of feel like there was a little bit of energy. Like it felt paranormally active. For I don't know what that means, but sometimes you could tell. But so we were down there investigating, and we were getting like some odd hits here and there on different meters. I'm not real big into ghost hunting equipment. There's a couple of things I like, but for the most part, I don't like to use it too much. But so it seemed like we were getting a little bit of activity, and all of a sudden, I see someone walk through the hallway, and it's a small, short person. So I thought that it was the girl who had organized the event. Um, and so I went to kind of step out of the way. What I was really trying to do was block the way because I had some stuff laying in the floor that I didn't want her to step on it because it was dark. I knew she wouldn't see it and she might trip over it or step on it. Um, but it turned out it wasn't her. And the person who come through the hallway towards the pit was not a person. There was nobody there. So that to me, I don't know, kind of felt like a residual thing. It didn't really feel like anything overwhelmingly amazing. Um, we got some
Yeah.
EVPs. We had like some weird ghost box conversations. But honestly, it's not like the whole night is not an experience that I would use as like really solid good evidence of the paranormal. But
Right.
there was something going on there, so it was kind of cool.
Do you feel like maybe there were too many people there?
Absolutely, there was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys spooked the ghosts away.
I don't know. I I would have to ghost hunt there with just a small team to form
Right.
a solid opinion about it.
Right.
Um, I don't know that I'm 100% convinced that it's extremely paranormally active. I mean, I feel like there's residual activity. I feel like there's a lot of emotion, just, a lot of energy in the building, but does that necessarily mean that it's like really paranormal,
Hmm.
whatever potential? I don't know. I have no
Well,
idea.
has anything happened there?
Yeah, I've got like a whole video. Actually, the reason that they contacted me to begin with is because here on TikTok, I made a video about the Paramount.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, so you'll have to go watch that. My
Oh, that's
Paramount,
right.
Paramount
Yeah,
Joe video.
that's right. I'm terrible. I've seen it probably like 5 times, and I don't remember.
You forgot my Paramount Joe video. It was
I
a
don't pay
good
attention.
one.
I know it was
It was a good one.
Lodge Tales.
Well, hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hello.
So, you know, those spirits, ghosts, whatever you want to call them, they they're just run of the mill. There's so many different kinds of them, just so many. And I guess if I can, I would like to explain a little bit about that. I don't know if I've ever said this on the live here before, but so in the Indian way, I can only speak for my tribe, but the Blackfeet in Montana, right? But in our way, we believe everything in nature has a spirit. Everything in nature. I'm not talking an old shoe or anything like that, because that's not part of nature. But everything that's just naturally occurs is has got a spirit. There are exceptions to that, though. There are, like, objects can become haunted and whatnot. Things can attach to those objects. But so under that kind of I guess agreement, we could call it, you got to realize that there could be a rock that could haunt something, or you could see the spirit of that rock, of a mountain. um Geez, even the directions, the four directions, there can be spirits with that. Just that. Every star, the moon, the earth, everything out there has got a spirit to it. And not all the time are they going to show themselves to you. Of course, humans have spirits, dogs, cats, fish, everything living in nature's got a spirit, water, all of it. So, this is just the knowledge that's passed down from the elders. And what's more is you live the Indian way for a while. I guess if you're around the ceremonies long enough, you start seeing confirmation of all these things. You start seeing them for yourself. You know, one of the oddest things I've ever seen were ghost lights. Those are so odd. Like, yeah, they're a spirit, but this light, it could be in a totally black room, but all you see is the light. It doesn't cast light onto anything. It wouldn't light up your face. If you put your hand next to it, your hand wouldn't light up. It would still be pitch black in the room. Those things have always really fascinated me, because how? Like, how does that happen? Because us Indians, we're not born with this innate knowledge. We're taught too. We go through all the ceremonies. We're taught how to everybody's always talking about them. It's not something that's kind of taboo that you have to go to Paranormally Correct to ever hear them or share your experiences at. Back home, we share them wherever we want with whoever. It's not a, I guess it's more part of our way, just our normal everyday lives than it is with anybody else that I've noticed, anyways. Just comparing walking from on the res and then walking off the res and all these different worlds, I guess I'd say. There's we're more inclined to I guess know about these things, to realize them and to have that knowledge passed down to us. But yeah, those spirits, it doesn't matter if you believe in them or not. It really don't. Because the fact of the matter is they believe in you. That's just how it goes. But so I just wanted to kind of get on my soapbox and talk a little bit about that before I jump into some stories here. Now, my stories are going to be all over the place. There's no rhyme or reason why I'm telling them in what order. So this first story I want to tell is about this. I've talked about this place called 7 Mile Lane before. And at 7 Mile Lane, it's one of the most haunted places on our res. So many things have happened there. There's a long history of that place. It used to be a route that they would take to go get alcohol and then bring it back when the res was a dry res way back when. This was during the wagon days and riding horseback over. So there was a lot of accidents, and some of that terrain could be pretty rough through there. But there's just a long history of this place. Well, anyways, there's a rock there. And it's close. It's about halfway down from the community to another community. There's a big rock there. And at that rock, that's like the only safe place on that road. If you were to make it to that rock and you were stuck on that road and it was night, you could just sleep there at that rock and you would be okay. Maybe if you had tobacco or whatever, or just pray once you're at that rock and you'll be okay. But people used to leave offerings there all the time when they were passing through to get safe travels or sleep there if they got caught there at night on that road. Well, one day this guy, one of my friends, he had a buddy with him, and I want to say they were with his mom. And anyways, they were going through there and they stopped to make offerings at that rock. And that kid who was with my friend, he sees some money on the ground by that rock. And because some people would just put money down too as an offering, like $1 or $2, nothing big. He grabbed that money. And they start walking back to the car, and then all the ground started rumbling like there was buffalo running toward them. It'd stop and it'd look and it would quit. And he started walking toward the car again, and it did it again. Like, I'm talking rumbling, like you could feel the vibration in the ground, he said. So anyways, the kid runs and puts that money back, and they leave. And that's one of those things to, if there's an offering out there, if you guys ever run into them anywhere, just leave them alone. Don't bother them, because again, that spirit of that rock was probably, upset. It didn't want him to bother with what it was offered. Okay, so jumping on to another story, a bit about, I'd say 12 miles from here, where I grew up in that Medicine Valley, there used to be this old house where, well, we called her our grandma. She had a house over there, an old one, and she had already moved out of it, and it was really old, handmade everything in there, handmade logs, so everything. It was one of those old houses, and she had moved to town already. Well, anyways, people used to pull out there, and there's like this bonfire they used to make near that house, and they'd pull out there, and that's where they'd, quench their thirst. And so they'd all be out there doing that around the bonfire and stuff, just having a good old time. One of those nights, this girl, she got left there at that bonfire. And I don't know how she got left there or what happened or anything. The part of the story that I know is that she was left there and she decided to go into that house to sleep, and wait for the morning so she could maybe walk out of there to the road, to the main road, to get a ride or something. Anyways, the people that had left her there, they came back the next day and they went out to look for her, and they went into that little old house and they found her in there, and she was in total shock. Like she couldn't talk, nothing. And that's the kind of the mystery of it all in my mind, is that she couldn't even tell them what she's seen and what happened to her that night in that house. She couldn't say anything. She was so shook up, like just wouldn't talk. And but they said they could clearly tell she was in just total shock. Even at that morning when they picked her up. So that poor girl had a really long night there. When I was a kid, I mean, I'd go by there because it was, well, my grandma's house, and I was curious, and I'd go in there and look around. It's just an old house. That's all it was. When I was be hunting, I'd walk through there. I would never sleep there. But yeah, that I remember that story from when I was really young about that lady, and something happened to her. We just don't know what. And closer to town, here was this man, moving on to another story. He used to have these ceremonies at night, and I was about in the fourth grade. I had almost died. I got this appendicitis attack, and the appendix burst, and I was getting poisoned. I didn't even know what was wrong with me. I was too young, still playing and everything like that. But one night the appendix broke, and I couldn't even walk. Anyways, they bring me into the hospital, and I get shipped off to the next biggest city where they could go ahead and take that appendix out, put drain tubes in me, and keep me in intensive care and stuff like that. Well, while I was down there, my dad had stayed behind, and he went out to this man that would have these ceremonies all the time, and he asked him to help me, and he said he would. He said he would send help down to me. What he was saying is he's going to send a spirit down there to be with me while everything, while I get better, while I'm at the hospital. So he did. And there were things that happened down there to me when that spirit was with me, but it's kind of something I don't really want to share. But anyways, after I kind of healed up and I got out of that hospital, we were told to come to one of his ceremonies and at night and go in and give thanks for them helping me and everything turning out good. And so we did. And this ceremony, he used to conduct it in this old house where nobody lived anymore, and it was the shape of a U, or like a horseshoe. You get a front door and a back door, and there's a wall that kind of splits them, and it's just basically a horseshoe shape. And there's no furniture, no appliances, nothing in there. I don't even think there's lights in there, like working lights. Anyways, we go in there, and I remember sitting against the wall, my back to the wall, and I was sitting right next to my dad. He was to my left, and I was kind of hugging his right arm because I was scared. They turned out all the lights. They put up barriers around the doors and the windows, and they're smudging them off, and they're praying and they're singing their songs. And as soon as they do that, I could hear this rattle, but you can't see anything. It's pitch black, but I could hear this rattle going around in there, like somebody was walking around with the rattle and shaking it as they sing, like in the same beat with everybody else. But I could just hear it going all over, and I remember thinking to myself, how is that person not falling over all of these people's legs that are just sitting all over the floor? I mean, it's a small house. I imagine it was only a one bedroom at one time, and there was just no room for that to happen. There must have been about 50 people in there. I mean, I'm telling you, the floor was covered with bodies everywhere. There was no way they could make it through all that and not trip. So I remember thinking that was kind of odd, but I just sat there with my dad, and I prayed. He told me just to pray before we went there, so that's what I was doing. Didn't really know how to pray yet, too well, but I was trying, and I could hear that rattle behind me, behind the wall. It would have been in what would have been the kitchen, and anyways, that wall was separating that rattle in myself. My back would have been to it, right? All of a sudden, that rattle, it touches my elbow, but my elbow's against the wall, like totally against the wall. That rattle went right through the wall and touched me twice. It didn't even need the wall there. It just went right through it. And that was for me as a kid, one of the first big confirmations I've had that, hey, this stuff's real. Regardless of what I think, this stuff's real. There's no way that could have happened. That's my thoughts afterwards on this. But at the time, I just grabbed my dad's arm and I hung on really tight and I said, Dad, that rattle's touching me through that wall. He says, oh, that's all right. It's going to be all right. Don't worry about it. Just keep praying. And so I did, but I was pretty shook up by that because even though they're good spirits and they're blessing you, that was that spirit's way of blessing me. Um, Even though they have good intentions, they can still scare you. That's just how it goes. And that man that was running that ceremony that night, he used to always say, look, because one time somebody asked him, do you ever get scared? He says, yes, I get scared. He said, I worry about the people that don't get scared of these things. There's something wrong with those kinds of people. But yeah, that was the first time that anything like that ever happened that made me really, I guess, solidify my belief in the spirits and everything like that. Because you always have some form of doubt that hangs on inside of you until something clearly and definitive happens. And I don't blame anybody for having doubt. I don't need to try to convince anybody, and I would never try. It's up to you and those spirits if they're ever going to make a connection with you. It's up to them. It's not up to me, so there's no reason for me to try to, convince you otherwise. But as we left that ceremony, uh, they turned on lanterns and stuff like that, and I remember that old man telling my dad. He said, they were really happy to see your boy here tonight. Thanks for bringing him, and thanks for coming. And I just would always remember that as we left. And so moving along, my dad had passed away, and he passed away in 2018. Um, I had my own apartment sometime after that, where I was staying there because I had a work crew and stuff that I was working. And anyways, it was easier for me to keep working and run my little flooring business if I stayed in that little apartment. Well, one of those days I was going back to the res and I had forgot something in that house. So I went back into the front door. And as you go into the front door, straight ahead of you, you can see the bathroom door and the bathroom mirror right straight ahead of you. And you have to walk straight ahead almost to the bathroom and then hang a left to get to that room I had there. And yeah, I was grabbing something. I don't even remember what it was. But as I was walking in, I got right into my room and I seen my dad. He, I could see him in that bathroom mirror. He walked into the front door and he like paused, like he was looking around, like, whoa, where are we going? What's going on? Where where are we going? It's kind of how he looked because he was looking around. And when he died, he lost a lot of weight and everything like that, and he was pretty sick, but he was healthy and he was younger than me, but dang, he was built like built. He looked the healthiest I ever seen him in my life, right then and there, even though it was just a spirit. He looked healthy, shiny black hair, and like big, like toned. I didn't know he was that big. I asked my mom. She said, "Yeah, he was really a muscly kind of guy. He's really really strong. He was always riding broncs and stuff like that. He was really in shape." And anyways, as I see him, it's on my peripheral, but I see him. I'm watching him through my peripheral, and I thought to myself, if I look right at that mirror, he's gonna disappear. And I just kind of want to savor this for a little bit longer, so I'm not going to look. I'm just going to stand here and just watch him. So that's what I did. And I must have only been standing there like, geez, like 5 seconds while I seen him in that doorway, kind of looking around. And I thought, well, I'm just going to look. And so I looked straight into that mirror, like directly. And he didn't disappear. He was still standing there. That's when I got a really good look at him. Like, whoa, Dad. And I spun around to look at the front door and he was gone. He was just gone. But I knew that he was around and he checks on me every now and then. That was my confirmation about that. Because I really struggled with his passing. If any of y'all ever lost a parent, you'll know what I'm talking about. It's one of the hardest things you'll ever do in your life. And I believe it's one more step on your journey to becoming a man or a woman. It's just something you have to deal with in your life. And it's just one of those things you're going to have to experience someday. But what I got from that is I know they come back and they do check on you. And this isn't the end because, well, they come back. And one more story about my dad. In the house where he passed on at was my house. I was trying to save his life and nurse him back to health. Well, anyways, one day after we had buried him and everything, he used to like listening to like Creedence Clearwater. He used to like that old hippie music, rock and roll and stuff. And the house is quiet. All the TVs are off, and we have satellite. We have direct TV. They have all of those music channels. Well, the TV in the room he stayed in, where he passed away, and ultimately, the TV turns on, and it's right on one of those channels. And if you know anything about DirecTV, you have to like manually switch it to that. And if you turn it off, it'll still be on that channel when you turn it on. Okay, none of us ever changed it to those channels. We never did. We didn't listen to that on TV. So, anyways, the TV turns on. It's on that channel. The volume goes almost all the way up, then it goes all the way down, then it shuts off. The TV does. And we're standing in the living room. Well, I'm standing there, and everybody's kind of sitting around, and we're looking at each other like, "You guys just heard that, right?" Like, yeah. And then, right then, the living room TV turns on. Same thing. Creedence Clearwater turns all the way up, and then turns all the way down, and then shuts off again. I just bust out laughing because everybody's scared. And I start laughing. It's my dad. He's just messing around. Probably just saying hi to us. I don't know how else he can say it, but I guess that's just his way. But like I said, the only time I ever seen him, and the last time I seen him was over at that house, and it was about 2020, yeah, when I seen him over there, just after the pandemic hit. And anyways, my dad, he's checking on us. So this next story takes place actually down in the Denver Children's Hospital. My son had a traumatic brain injury, and we were down there with him. I wasn't quite there yet. Either I was there or I was at that Ronald McDonald house staying with my other kids, and we would come back and forth. My wife and I'd give her time to rest, and I'd go sit with my boy. And anyways, I don't remember if I was there, like I said, or if I was on my way down yet. But there was this doctor that come in, and my wife was really stressed, of course, because to the point, up until that point, yeah, I was there, because up until that point, we didn't really know if he was going to make it yet. Nobody would give us a definitive answer. They were like really hesitant to say, "Oh yeah, he's going to be fine. Don't worry about it. He'll be all right," you know. But he had made it at the intensive care. We almost lost him once in there. It was really touch and go. It was one of the most stressful times in our lives. But she's sitting in there stressed, and she wouldn't eat. The nurses were trying to tell her to eat, to tell her to stay strong for your boy. That if you get sick, you're not going to be able to be in here with him. We won't allow you in here. Just trying to encourage her to eat in any way they could. Well, she was there by herself, just with him, and this doctor comes in. See, there had been a doctor that just left, and he was checking on him, and this new guy come in, and he walks in, he checks all his vitals, and he says, "How's mom doing?" And she says, "Oh, I'm okay." He says, "You don't have to worry about nothing. He's gonna be totally fine. You don't have to worry about anything at all. It, you just need to get some rest. You need to eat, drink water, just take care of yourself too, mom. But your son's gonna be fine." And she thought, why? Why hasn't anybody told me this yet? What makes him so sure? And anyways, he just comforted her, told her it was going to be all right. And then he walked into the bathroom. She thought he was just going to wash his hands and everything. And he stayed in there quite a while. Next thing you know, a nurse come walking in, and she was checking vitals again too. And my wife says, where'd the doctor? Is he still in the bathroom? And she said, what? I said, yeah, there was a doctor that come in and checked him. Is he still in that bathroom? Because he already checked him. He already did the vitals, so I don't know why you'd have to come right in. Like right now is kind of what she was getting at. She wanted my boy to rest too. And she said, there shouldn't be nobody here. She walked in that bathroom. That bathroom was empty. Whoever that doctor was, it was a spirit, some kind of a good spirit. And whoever he was comforted my wife that day. And my boy is healthy. He did make it. He is okay. Is actually part of one of their studies. They're studying him because they all call him a miracle child. They said most of the kids that have this type of injury don't make it. But whoever that spirit was that talked to my wife that day was really gentle, kind, and basically changed her world down there. And I thought that was always really cool. See, that's what I'm saying. These spirits, they have their own way. It's not according to us. We don't get to go out and say, oh, I'm going to go on a ghost hunt and I'm going to see something. I would never ghost hunt myself. I just never would. I don't believe, this is just my beliefs, and I don't knock anybody else for doing what they do. But I would never, each and every one of you listening, I would never walk into your house and say, speak into this, turn on this light, turn on that light. I think that's rude. I would never go into your house and agitate you like that and kind of raise hell with you. I just wouldn't. Just so I get my confirmation, oh, you're real. To me, it's just sounds odd to do something like that. Now, if I were to ghost hunt, if I was to, and I never would, but if I was to, I wouldn't take all the gadgets, anything like that. And if I was trying to get proof, maybe an audio recorder, maybe the phone's camera, something like that. And I'd go all by myself to a children's, somewhere where there was a lot of children, like a school, an old school. And I would camp out in that school all night, and I wouldn't leave. And I guess that's how I would do it. I wouldn't just go in there for a little bit, then leave. I'd stay all night by myself because I know something probably would happen at that point. Not with all of these people around or anything. I'd be all by myself. that takes guts, I would think. So I know I'd never do that. I just never would. But this next story happened to my father-in-law. He was clearing. They make fire breaks in the forestry, like preventative maintenance on some of these forests where there's fire breaks and tree thinning and stuff like that. Well, anyways, that's what he was doing, and he just had him and his buddy with him, and they were thinning out those trees and stuff, and they had a camp set up as kind of an old growth forest, he said. Anyways, one night, he said he was just kind of walking around that area before they sat down for the night, and he noticed some like old grave, like bones, some bones kind of scattered about, and he just thought maybe it was an old burial from a long time ago, ancient, some long time ago. He didn't really do anything, think too much about it. He offered some, all he had, he said, was some kinnikinnick. He didn't have any tobacco, so he just offered some kinnikinnick to those bones and left them alone. Anyways, he went back to his camp that night, and he said, I could see somebody, because they just had a little tiny zip-up tent, those little cheap tents. He could see somebody coming around to the front of that door, somebody getting ready to walk in, but there's nobody out there, just him and his friend. They each had a cot on either side of that little tent. It was big enough so that they could each put a cot in there. And in comes this person, and he's dressed in an old native style where there wasn't even beadwork yet. It was so old. It was just quill work. Like no beadwork. That's how you know it's really old. It's just porcupine quills that they would dye. They would use those as beads. And that's what he had all over him. He had white buckskin on all over him. He said, I sat there and I looked at him. He says, I just knew he was going to do something. Because he'd look at my friend, he'd look at me, he looked back at my friend, then he jumped. He says, right on me. He jumped on me and he says, I don't know what he was trying to do to me, but he said, I start battling him. He says, what I was trying to do was hold him there and until the sun came up. He says, I was always told by elders, if you can hold them and pull them into the sunlight, you know, the sun, like I was telling you guys, the spirits that we believe in, like the creator, his spirit is, his body is the sun, but the sun's spirit is the creator. Anyways, so if you can pull him into the sunlight, the creator can take him home, and you can get rid of him and ward off any bad that they were trying to do to you. So he battled that thing all night. He says, boy, he really tried getting away. He said he'd try really hard. A couple times he almost did get away, because once I grabbed him, he started really pulling. And he said, the next morning, he said, I woke up and I realized I was dreaming. And so he told his partner, he says, oh man, that guy really had a bad dream last night. And he said, what? He said, I don't know, man. I don't know if you were dreaming. He says, hey, last night you were coming up off your bed about 3 or 4 feet high. He says, I don't know what was wrong with you, but you were just coming straight up off your bed, just like flopping in the air about 4 feet up. He says, well, why didn't you wake me up? He says, I don't know. I was always told don't wake people up if they're having nightmares. So my father-in-law says that he battled a spirit that night, because sometimes when you're sleeping, you go into their world when you're dreaming, and it's easier for them to kind of make contact with you, or even to mess with you too, because in your dreams it's easier for them to do it. So yeah, that's the story of my father-in-law when he had to battle a spirit. This next story takes place at Chemawa Indian School, and here at Chemawa, it's just a school for natives. You can all go there, and it's geared more toward preserving your heritage and stuff like that. So that's where I went, and it's right outside Salem, Oregon. And that school was really, really haunted. There was a lot of stuff that happened there. And one of the things was we were playing down in this, like a rec room, like a TV room. And I remember this kid, went really far with martial arts, and so he was showing us a few little tricks, little moves, that he would do. And we're just messing around practicing those. It's a big open area. Then all of a sudden, we hear these bunk beds, because it's on the bottom floor, and all the students are moved out of that to the main floor, so the matrons didn't have to walk up and down the stairs. It was easy for them to do checks. So there was nobody living in those bottom rooms at the time. And all the extra bunk beds, there were these metal ones. They would just get stacked up in those rooms. And that's where we heard, and there's a brick wall on one side and then drywall on the other. So off the brick wall, we could just hear all of those bunk beds, like there was a whirlwind, like a tornado of those bunk beds just getting flopped, like everywhere in there, like everywhere. We could hear them chipping off the walls and everything. It was pretty intense. It was so loud and violent. I mean, you thought if you were in there, you would have got killed. I mean, you probably would. The way it sounded, you would have got banged up pretty good if you were in there. And so everybody, like, just stopped and stared at the wall where we could hear the bunk beds chipping it and stuff. And even the people that were watching TV stood up and were looking over there. And there was about maybe 6 of us down there. All of a sudden, I'm walking toward the door, and I'm thinking, I'm just going to open it and see what's going on in there, like see what happened, because the sound quit. I get so close to the door, I'm just about to open it, And I realized, wait a minute, no, I'm not gonna do that. But when I turn around and look, geez, everybody's right behind me, like in one line. And I said, no, no, no. I yelled to that last guy, go get Everett. Everett was our matron. He was this great big guy that could rip phone books in half. He was so strong. Anyways, he come down. Everett, there's something going on in that room. Those bunk beds are just getting thrown all over now. We don't know what it is, but it's scaring us. And so he come down with his keys. Great big guy. And I'm right behind him, man. I'm getting ready to bolt if something happens, but I was going to use him for my shield and just run if something happened in there. Anyways, he opens the door, turns on that light, and we follow him in. All those bunk beds are still perfectly stacked. We were dumbfounded. We couldn't make sense of that. So he says, well, wait, let's check the next room because there's a room joining by a bathroom. You could go to the next room. So we went to the next room, we turned on the light, same thing. All the bunk beds are still stacked perfectly. Nothing wrong with anything in there. And as we were leaving, I thought he was going to start, belittling us, making fun of us, teasing us. But he didn't. He said, well, if it happens again, you kids come and get me. He says, but for now, don't worry about it. Whatever it was is not here anymore. But if it happens again, just come get me. And yeah, that's the whirlwind of bunk beds in Chimawa. And another story about Chimawa, I got two more and then I'm done. So this next story, that same matron, they were kicking everybody out. It was a Saturday of the dorms. And they were making us, it was their effort to have us do a mandatory participation in the school powwow that they were putting on. It was at the gym. And so they said, we're going to close all the dorms at noon. And everybody has to go show up there. And we'll open the dorms back up around 2. And so my room was right across from the matron's office. I was always raised in hell, so that's where they put me. And I told him, I said, well, can you wake me up? I'm going to take a nap when you're getting ready to close the dorm down, and I'll head on down to the gym. He says, yeah, I'll wake you up. And he forgot about me in there. So I was locked in that dorm. Anyways, all I know was here was this little man. He was really short. He was like, geez, about 2 feet tall, if that. And he was showing me a bunch of things. And of course, this isn't a dream. And the place I was at never turned dark. It was always light. And there was this archway that was made, it's like it naturally grew there out of these trees. It really looked cool. But he was bringing me through that. And he was talking to me all that time. He told me a whole bunch of things, but I couldn't remember it when I woke up. And when I wake up, he followed me into this world. He followed me back. And I was laying there and I couldn't move. And I had to use the bathroom. So in Indian, I was telling him to let me up. I gotta pee. And I could only think that, but I couldn't say it because my mouth wouldn't work. My eyes would, but I knew I could feel him. He was sitting on the pillow of my friend's bed next to mine across the other side of the room. And I knew he was there. I could just feel him. I just knew he was there. And so I'm laying there and I'm like, wait a minute. Why ain't he letting me move? And so I built up like some willpower to look. I don't know how I did it, but I tried looking. And when I looked toward him, he blurred my vision and pushed my eyes straight ahead again. So I was just effectively staring at the top bunk, the bottom mattress. And I was like, all right, well, I'm going to build up a little more willpower and I'm just going to look at him. And I did. I was able to look, and all I got to see was his leg. It's a little tiny leg. And he just had dark skin, like a full-blood Indian. He had really dark skin. And he had this red kind of cloth on, like almost looked like trunks, but it wasn't, but it was red. It looked like kind of like that material we use when we put out dress goods, or we're like, doing prayer ties or something. It kind of looked like that. And anyways, I was just about to build up more willpower because he blurred my vision again and pushed my head straight up. and I thought he was, I don't know what he was doing, but I was trying to get up to use the bathroom, and I really built up willpower, and I pushed, and I sat straight up, but he was gone, and that window was open. So I got up and I looked out, and I just looked for him to see if he was still out there, but he was long gone. I went and used the bathroom and then headed out. But that little man, whoever he wasn't bad. He wasn't. But I think about him from time to time. I always wonder what he was trying to show me. So this last story I'm going to tell is one I don't tell very often. It was in that same room where that little man was. Whew, so there was a lot going on up there at the time. I was experimenting with I don't know if we could say that. I was experimenting with things I shouldn't, mood altering things I shouldn't have been doing. And, of course I wasn't on anything at this time that this happened, but at those times I was experimenting and I didn't. Anyways, so I was totally sober, nothing wrong with me, nothing like that. But one night I'm laying there and I had a roommate. He stayed on the top bunk. I stayed on the bottom bunk. We used to constantly get haunted in that room, constantly. It got to the point where we'd both just be quiet and not say anything. Maybe after when it was done, we'd say, "Hey, did you hear that?" Or, "Hey, what did you see?" Or anything like that. We'd just like, "Yeah, I saw it. Okay, well, good night, good night." It got to that point. Anyways, one of those nights, I'm laying there and I could hear this sound. It's coming from the floor. And if you've ever watched that old movie with Patrick Swayze called Ghost, that's how it sounded, like those little things. But they were coming out of the floor. I could see them crawling out of the floor, and they were making a sound like like that. They were all making that sound, so it sounded like a little chorus of them. And there was I seen 4 of them come out, but I don't know if any more came out. But now this is really weird. That's why I don't really tell this story, because of how they looked. They looked like blue glowing figures, and they were only about a foot tall. And they didn't really have features. Think Gumby, but round. And they were glowing like this blue. That's how they looked. And they were round. They looked like clay people or something. I don't know what the heck how to describe it, but that's how they looked. And when I seen those coming out, I watched that first one come out. He stepped up on top of the floor with his foot. He stepped up, and those other 3 were coming out of the floor behind him. And one was to his side. Those other 2 were behind him. And they were making that ugly sound, and they were coming out, and I just rolled over. I rolled over, and I didn't want to look at them. I tried to get close to the wall, and they start touching my back. I could feel these little tiny hands, even though they didn't have hands. They looked like just round, like an elephant leg. So they didn't have hands or features but I could feel little hands. They would touch my back. And when they would touch it, it would just be like this like this cold, like, I don't know, like it was cold. Like it would just emanate cold from each of their touches, and it would like make me flinch. And I was trying to get away from them. Finally, I was able to scoot further toward the wall and just like get away from them and keep praying. And I didn't hear them leave, like make any noise when they left. It's just when they were coming out of the floor, they were making that noise. Because as I sucked away from them up close to the wall, I didn't hear them anymore, and they quit touching me. And it was a long time, like about, I don't know, half hour before I was brave enough to turn around and look, but I couldn't see them. I even looked under my bed, and that was one of the most scary things I ever did, was looking under that bed. Oh God, I didn't want to. But they were nowhere around. And anyways, I asked my roommate. We didn't talk about it that night. For me, it was too scary. I just tried my best to go to sleep and just kept praying. And the next morning I asked him if he heard anything. He says, yeah, I heard some things. That's all I needed to know. I didn't even want to talk about it anymore after that. But I went to this guy we used to sweat with. He would run sweats, and I told him what happened, and he says, you need to quit messing around with those things. And what he was talking about was those mood altering substances. You need to quit messing around with those things. He says those are drug. Oh, I said it. Those are those spirits that are associated with that stuff, and that's why they were bothering you. So you need to quit messing with that stuff. So I did. I didn't mess with it anymore. But yeah, those are my stories for the night. Thanks for listening, everyone.
Thank you for coming up, and we appreciate your stories as always. And if you guys are not following Lodge Tales, definitely go check out Lodge Tales podcast.
All right. Well, good night, everyone.
Good night.
Thank you, Lodge Tales.
Yeah, we'll see you.
See ya.
Bye.
Awesome stories as always. Let's see. We are now in overtime, but we'll keep it going. I know Bean has been waiting for a while. We're going to see if Bean's still awake.
Yes.
Bean may not be with us anymore. Bean has left the building. Bean, if you're still there, feel free to come back, request again. If not, we'll catch you on the flip side.
Ollie.
I was wondering, like, what does that mean? What is the flip side? I have no idea. Yeah. Hey.
Oh, hey, were you meant to hit me? I don't know if someone was ahead of me.
Oh, no, there was one person ahead of you. She'd been waiting for a while, but I think she got abducted.
Oh no.
Yeah, it happens.
Well, I'm glad I can make it. It's a little late, but you know what? I'm contemplating whether or not to go to even work tomorrow. It's been a day. So, well, a quick little thing to piggyback off to give you an update. Am I echoing? Huh. Okay. So I'm just gonna piggyback off of the Fae folk because what happened a few days ago around like maybe Friday I would say. So remember I told y'all, and some of y'all might remember the story of the little people in my backyard, the Bopoli. Well, there was a sign recently. There's been some recent activity. One of my neighbors is installing a pool, so don't know if this is coincidence. Don't know if this pretty much triggered them somehow. But strange thing kind of happened. And this all happened while I was trying to move some plants around, right? I was just helping my mom move some plants around. So because there was a storm coming, it was getting really dark. So now the spot that, I'm telling people where the tree was, where pretty much their little rock formations are, basically like what am I doing? I'm running a little sanctuary here. Jeez. So over here, the strange thing just happened was I was moving some pots and plants around, and this spot in my backyard is pretty big, and this spot is nothing but grass. It's empty. And then, like, I leave that area for 5 minutes. I come back to get one last one last plant. Now, all this was it's what my mom says is tulsi. Tulsi is holy basil, I would say. It's a type of basil. It's sacred in certain cultures. It is a very protective plant. But we use it for a lot of medicinal purposes, and it's also good for food garnishing. So I went to go get this one last tulsi plant, and I was by myself at this point. Now, you go somewhere, you look at the ground. I saw a little ant pile there, and I was like, I'm going to have to deal with that at some point. And there was nothing around, no flowers, no daisies, no nothing, no mushrooms, nothing. It was plain, right? That's all I do. That's all I saw. I come back to get the last pot of plant, and now, mind you, if I was drinking, if I was taking a smoke, if I took some mushrooms myself, I would say this would be the reason why I saw these things. However, I didn't. There was a round ring of flowers. Mainly some, like a mushroom popped up here and there, but there was a ring of dandelion flowers, like a nice ring. And I swear I did not see that before. I looked at it for a minute. I wanted to think about it, but then I heard the thunder and I was like, let me go on my day. So that's something freaky right there that I wanted to tell you guys about. That happened very recently. That's the most recent sign and activity that I saw. So I never seen, I don't know if anybody has seen any kind of, I did not step in the ring. I didn't even come off the concrete. Gina, I did not come off that concrete. I didn't. I know better at my age. But the thing is, I didn't feel any kind of sinister or harm. But I don't know. Haven't seen much after that. So just wanted to let you know, hey, well, they didn't move out. They're still there. I haven't really focused on any of that. But yeah, there are fae folk around. There are different kinds, and different native, like in North America, almost different regions, different tribes have different names for them, different descriptions. Because we are a very melting pot socially here, a lot of cultures, a lot of things have mixed on this land. So when people experience things that are like European in nature, I don't dismiss that you can, be in, like, you can't really say that, oh, European fae aren't here. Maybe somehow you brought something over, but crossing an ocean is quite a feat. So if somebody saw something that isn't native in this region, I feel it. Like it could be something brought over, or it could be something migrated somehow. Who knows? But yeah, just wanted to give y'all that little fun update. The next update, yes, the spring equinox is happening next week, and I am getting that big reading, Sarah, as I was telling you about. So I look forward to telling you guys that around like maybe next Sunday.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, that little freaky thing happened, and yes, people say do not step inside that circle. I definitely agree with that. But till then, like I have never felt anything very, sinister with them, only because I felt like, I led them to a safe zone, only because I own the land. But yeah, that was that, and I really enjoyed Lodge Tale stuff. So there's this the reason of me coming over here is what happened this week was a parent I met a parent that really needed help. This person lives like not too far away from me. So it was like a coincidental thing that I met them. I was just swinging by, picking up some herbs and incense in my local apothecary. Um, so this lady was just like in there. I see some like her. She looked bad. Now this lady looks bad. Her husband, I think, yeah, her husband was there too. He came in like later. So, real story. This lady looked like she hasn't slept in days. And she's like very, very, like, weak. Her husband is the same way, big, dark, black, circles around their eyes. So they're asking for like help. They're asking for things like, what are protections? What are helping? Like, what can you do to sleep or whatnot? And so there's, one of the shopkeepers, she's my friend, and they were talking. And the lady just broke down. She just broke down and started like bawling that she had no idea what to do. She can't protect her kid. Here I turn around, I put my shit down. I turn around and I'm like, okay, like, I'm sorry. How can I help you? Like, what's going on? Can you tell me? I'm also like, I'm a psychologist. I'm also an FNP. Like, let me try to console her. So I did. I tried to like get her up from the floor, get her on the seat, and the lady, started telling me. I was like, "Can you? It's okay. You're in a safe spot. No story is crazy. What's going on? Are you able to sleep or eat or anything?" She's like, "It's my son." She's saying her son is being haunted. There's something wrong in their house. Something is always wrong. And their son, it's always like him. He's in like a lot of trouble. He sleeps, but he's not sleeping or something like that, all in all. So she's telling me this story as she goes, and we kind of, being who we were, look at each other and we figure out that her son is actually astral projecting. Like, they feel like, she's telling me things that, on and on it goes. Long story short, she's telling me about, oh, her son, like in the middle of the night, her son is asleep, but she's like, she feels him running around the house. But, it's not him. Like, he's asleep, on and on. So as she goes on with the story and the events that are happening in her house, always at night, always when her son is going to bed and he's asleep. She tells me all of this stuff is happening at that time. So apparently her son is a very successful astral projector and he's playing around, but because he's just a 8-year-old kid, he doesn't realize what also can happen if you stay too long in there, in that state, and you make friends. And some of those people or things on the other side are not your friends. You open doors when you're astral projecting. So this kid, just innocent as he was, things just started happening. And yeah, kind of like Insidious, but yeah. And then, the movie about Insidious, it is kind of like, yeah, it is real. And yeah, he needed an education. So we asked the mom, like, bring in your kid. We're gonna talk to him. We're gonna tell him some tricks, and we're gonna teach the family. So she did, and we talked, and this kid there was something attached to him. So he came into the shop, and immediately we felt this little icky shadow was not too far away. It's literally attached to him. So yes, he did open some doors. This is gonna be a little project for us in the coming week. But yeah, he opened doors. His mind is very active. He's scared because he's realized they're not his friends. Some things are not, you know, nice to him anymore because he doesn't want to play. He wants to sleep. And well, they make him play. They make him do things or play a certain area. They make him go into a certain place away outside of that house. So first things first, we taught the parents to do protection circles. We basically also, as a medical professional, I told them that we need to go to a neurologist. We need to also make sure that, his mind, we get proper medication for him to sleep, to shut down his mind. Like, you don't want to be in a dream state. I want him to sleep and stay asleep for a good while. So I told him, I was like, you know what? Y'all can just swing by the clinic. I'm gonna give you I'm gonna have my pediatrician give him a quick checkup, and we'll give you I'll give you a week off. Like, I'll give him a whole week off. I'll write a note for the school and everything because it is spring break, but next week is not spring break, right? This coming week. So just give him another week off so he can get his strength back together. So I talked to the kid, even in my office. The parents are very, interested. They want to talk, and I tell them, and this happened on Friday. This was Thursday when I saw them and I met them. Friday is when we were discussing things in my office. And I mean, the kid was describing to me a lot of things that he's seeing. He's at first, this started months ago. At first, he was just around. He thought he was just seeing himself sleep, and then that's it. He would wake up or something like that. He would be in an internal dream state. The further he ever saw himself sleep and he started walking around the house, it's when things got a little bit more intense for him. Because he thought he was having little, like, same thing like the Insidious kid. All these kids have a really same train of thought, because I did too. When I was astral projecting and I didn't know, I thought I was dreaming and I was having a time of my life. But the thing is, the difference is this kid comes from a different background. They didn't come from a much more secular background, like just regular non-denominational Christian background. None of this is like normal to them. Like, this is the first time this has happened. I asked both the parents, are you guys like the same? Did anything ever happen to you like that? And no. So I tell the parents, he's not technically haunted. Your house isn't haunted. Your kid is just astral projecting. He's just opened doors. So until he learns how to control this, until he learns the knowledge of what these things are, he will be safe and y'all will be safe, because things can, come through, because they'll take advantage of his mind, because, forgive me if I'm not using the right word, but he's not literate in the supernatural paranormal realm, right? He hasn't had that kind of knowledge base. I was taught later in life, like, later as I was growing as a child, but I had that background. I was blessed enough to have that. So I wanted to help this family out and make sure that they understand what's going on. And so far, this morning I got an update from the mom and the dad. They gave a quick little call this morning, and because I shared my personal, and they said, like, things have been a little quiet lately, only because the psychotropic medication that our pediatric psychiatrist gave him helps him sleep and stay asleep. The next thing that helped him not be induced into a out of body experience was basically a few things. Now, this is like mixed cultures here. One was a salt circle that I gave the parents of my own making. Two, hematite and tourmaline, blessed and oiled on, the corner of his beds. So basically acting like an anchor. So an anchor basically chains him to his bed. He's not going to be flying anywhere. So it's like, this is something that I kind of mixed together, and I want him to catch up on his sleep, because the kid, like that child was just alert, but he shouldn't be alert. Like, he needs his rest. And so do the parents. So I asked the parents, I was like, did you take any kind of sleeping aids yourselves? The mom and dad were like, no. We were too afraid. We didn't think it might work. We didn't, maybe what if it backfired? So they stayed awake the first day, all Saturday, and they didn't hear anything. The kid was up, grandma came over, uncle came over, and they just took some rest then. Same thing happened Saturday night. Everything went okay. Sunday, they call me and tell me all of this. So basically, whatever that was, coming through or was about to come through, the kid not astral projecting shut down that energy. We kind of like blessed the house, cleansed the place, and we shut it down. So I will update. Yes, I will update you guys as it goes to protect them because of HIPAA, OSHA. I'm just gonna use like the very fakest of fake things for their names and stuff like that, but because they are technically now also patients. So, but yeah, I mean, in the medical healthcare industry, a lot of this would be very, psychotic. However, there are some of us holistic, medical practitioners who are still learning and still actually learning other backgrounds, the paranormal, supernatural. The thing is that, sometimes this kind of stuff happens and my door just opened and it's my cat. My God. He that just freaked me out. I was like, oh wow. But yeah, I mean, there's always, there's medicine, right? There's logic and everything. But then there are things that are beyond logic. Like you scratch some of these boxes off, then yes, this could be it. And let's try it, right? And yes, Nicholas, like holistic, there's a few patients of ours that are allergic to ibuprofen. They cannot handle ibuprofen. So what is the next best thing? We're gonna have to look for herbs that are the same as ibuprofen. And for one patient, basically, we ordered concentrated orange juice. Basically, the orange juice is an IV pack that is nothing but turmeric. It's concentrated turmeric, basically, to help with that. So yes, we do believe in. I mean, I believe in holistic approaches because we want preventatives. We want long-term things, of course, to cure. But for this kid, he definitely needs to, recuperate. First and foremost, I want the family themselves to have their physical health back and get some sleep. Next thing's next, they're having a follow up with me and the psychiatrist and everyone else coming in the middle of the week. We want to see how he's doing. So we're going to run some blood tests. We're going to see what's going on. Anything further we need to investigate on my end and that of my friend in the supernatural and the paranormal circle. We will do another cleansing of the house and we will have basically a lecture. We're going to teach a child what to do in astral projection, how to control it, and what to look for. Because when you are in the dream state and when you are astral projecting, there are other doors, there's signs, there's things to look for. There's always something, whether it's a clock, there's divination in that too. Like there's some messages. So if anyone has experience of astral projection, if you don't know, you're welcome to message me. I can try to decipher some things for you. But definitely when it comes to astral projection, look behind you and don't go off a path you don't know. That's something that's very important. Only the bravest of the brave in the spiritual world, and I mean like those who are so immune to any kind of feelings in the spiritual world, which is a strength, can probably walk into the darkness and like probably come back. But yeah, this kid, this is the first time that he is experiencing this, and it's kind of like burst his bubbles. So but I'm hoping that some things may be better. So this is my crash, I would say, of the week. something just strange out of the ordinary happened. But yeah, there's y'all's little insidious story right there. Astral projection gone wrong.
Yeah. I love that topic, by the way, astral projection. I got into that years ago and started dabbling in it, and it's very interesting. Very, very interesting. I don't know, there's just so much, and it's like, it's one of the most, like, I feel like it's a hot debate,
Mhm.
in the science and paranormal world, or between the two of them. But I think there's something to it. I've had experiences with it. I don't talk about those experiences anymore online because I don't know. It just feels too wild,
Yeah.
But
I mean, yeah, astral projection. Nicholas asked what did I see? Well, it's hard to remember a lot of things in my youth. Always though, there's one commonality in my youth. I've always had some sort of grounding ability, but in like, if I can remember correctly, the one common denominator was I have always somehow seen in the early time um my grandfather. It was my grandfather, my dad's dad. um because I never met him, but there was always that from a very distance. Only in my early 20s, when I really actually forced astral projection, when I fully understood what it was and controlled it somewhat, to direct it towards, like, deity messages or any of that sort in my spiritual practice. That's when I kind of had more conversational things. So the thing is, if you see the veil, you see some dimensional openings, you kind of see it in the background. You don't really, see it up close. And same thing with, like, with certain things that you're talking about, like if it is not like a human spirit, but like more like a deity spirit or something like that. In my personal experience, not everybody's going to have a different way, but for example, you can see them closer you get to it, the further I am from a figure, for example. You can see the mundane figure. Like, for example, let me give you, like, Odin, for example. Like, if you see Odin for what he is, as the world projects him to be, from far away, yet close, he looks like a man with a hat and everything and two crows. The closer you get, you don't see any of that. You see nothing but a ball of divine light, a certain type of energy with a certain emotion, a certain message, and that is it. As a take on that, where I, became very eclectic in nature. And no, I have never possessed someone. Wouldn't that be kind of fun and cynical?
that would be.
Oh, the things that you could do if I had that ability. No, but I will say astral projection in my personal experience is not fun, especially if it happens uncontrolled. I don't want to hear something sometimes. I really don't like it when it's uncontrolled, because an hour into astral projection means it could feel like you haven't slept for a month. Like, your body feels rested, but your mind, no, it's not rested, because your mind was technically awake. You were doing all these things, and even if you astral projected or went into a, psychedelic dream state for like 10 minutes, technically, it feels like 10 hours or maybe a whole 2 days. So you never know. But yeah, I these days I ground it. I do the same thing that I did with that kid, and I just basically chain myself up spiritually because I want to shut things down. I don't want no messages. Some days I'm opening myself up to it. Some days, absolutely not. Not with the busy month I have. I have a lot of things and projects. Yeah. Well, there's my story. I don't know who else is next.
Very cool. Well, thank you for coming up and talking to us again, and keep us
Oh,
updated on everything, and let us know how it's going.
for sure, for sure. Thank you.
Thanks. So I have a theory. I don't know if anybody's interested in this. As someone who's dabbled in all the areas of the occult, what if, okay, what if ghosts, bear with me on this, are just people who are astral projecting? Because there are people asleep all over the world all the time. What if that's
That's a good
what
one.
ghosts
I never
are?
thought about that. That
I've
does
thought
make
about that.
sense.
Yeah.
I will say this: I had a ghost story I was going to tell you, but I had I do love talking about the astral projection stuff. I found it so fascinating, and I don't pretend to know much about it, but I will say, um, for years, for like over a decade or more, I used to like meditate, but I didn't know that I never called it meditating. Like I was just doing my thing. And over years, I didn't realize that I was learning slowly how to. Um, it sounds strange to say it. I've never said that out loud, but like to astral project, and I've never said that out loud. But I it's a crazy rabbit hole of like I'm not sure what's real and what's not. But yet there are a few things that I kind of proved to myself, like for tests over the years of kind of dabbling in that were really fascinating, and I love hearing more stories about that, and because there's so much that is not talked about in that realm, kind of mainstream. I'd love to hear your story, Sarah, on that eventually.
On like astral projection and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, they may still be public on my YouTube. I'll just go ahead and say YouTube because we're almost done for the night, so I don't care if we kind of get squished a little bit in the algorithm. I may have them because I made videos about all this stuff a long time ago. I started off like, I mean, you guys know, like I'm all about the occult and occult practices and like dabbling in stuff, just out of curiosity, and I think because like I'm so skeptical, like I don't really believe in a lot of things, so I try to like prove things to myself. So I've tried just about everything, and I've come across some really neat stuff. Had some really weird experiences. I've done like I haven't done like official past life regression, but I've done like guided past life regression. Um, I think I've talked about that on here before. That's one I've always been interested in. And then like trance channeling, that type of stuff. I always used to think that I couldn't meditate because I actually went to yoga teacher training years ago, and which is funny because it was a total scam because you don't have to have a certification to be a yoga teacher, but that's a whole other story for another time. But I would sit there during meditation and I'd be like, I can't concentrate. I can't meditate. Why can't I do this too? Like everybody else seems to be able to do it. And it's like, I can do it, but I just never realized that, you know, when it comes to paranormal occult stuff, I can do it. Um, Mitchell, the YouTube, it's the same thing as my name here. It's just Paranormally Correct. I don't know if I've set those videos to private. I took most of my YouTube videos down though because YouTube treated me very poorly. They were very cruel to me, so I hid most of my videos, but they may be up. So Joel, what's your ghost story? You gonna tell us a ghost story?
Yeah, yeah. Um, yeah, that Astro just took me in such a rabbit hole.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, so this is a story that was maybe about 2, 3 years ago, and I was in my office, and I had an area, like a little lounge area, where if I stay after hours, sometimes I'll take a nap. And earlier that day, and I didn't have anything spooky that's ever happened at this office, ever. This is my old office. Like nothing spooky ever happened there. It was just like a normal office. And one day, I love all these old buildings around us, and there's some buildings that they're like almost condemned, like there's nobody's been in them for decades, and I'm just fascinated with like what's in the basements of these, what's on the rooftops, what's it look like inside, and so I started making friends with some of these realtors and that kind of show these places. And I talked to my landlord actually had access to this building that was around the corner, and it was like it used to be a mall in the 70s, and before that, for like over 50 years, it was different kind of department stores or so forth, and so I kind of begged to let me go in it because nobody's been in there for a long time, for decades. And then the reason the building, it had like asbestos or something, is the reason you couldn't, they can't just tear it down and rebuild it. It's like more expensive to it's easier to tear it down and build it up than to fix it. And so I begged to just look in it, and she said that there's people that own that building. It's like a board of people, so they don't want pictures to come out of like what it looks like inside, or they don't want people to see how bad it is, or but I got to go in it, and I got to go around. I did take pictures, I just didn't put them online. But I went throughout it, and there's like staircases that had fallen, and elevators that were, it looked like a disaster movie. It looked cool to see, because it was like a department store in the 1970s, but like apocalypse. It was pretty interesting. And I just went through, and I went through the floors, and I was going through the staircase, and then I realized that there was no more staircase as you started to walk up, and I was like, wow, okay, I guess I'm not walking any further than the fourth floor. And I go to leave, and I'm stepping on some sort of, I'm not sure what it was, just parts of the building that had kind of condemned and fallen. And I get outside, I got it on my shoes. I'm kind of kicking it off. I don't think anything of it. And I go back to the office, and it was after hours, and I was like, well, I'm just gonna work for a second. And I can't remember the order. Oh yeah, I remember. So I sat down at the desk, and I have these frosted windows that are in my office, so I see light on the other side, and there's nobody that's there in the room. And I thought I saw this kind of streak of like something went past the light, like out of my left kind of peripheral vision, and I was like, well, maybe that's nothing. And then I'm sitting there just super quiet, and then I hear this kind of subtle buzz in my speakers that I didn't have music playing, but like I heard this kind of buzz that maybe kind of sounded like an electrical overload somewhere. It kind of was like, it was kind of loud, and I was like, okay, whatever. And I literally wasn't thinking anything of it, and then I went to go sit down on the couch, and I was like, I'm just gonna nap for a second because sometimes I work really late, and um, I remember I had set my shoes over there near the door, because they had stuff on them, and I saw a really quick but very clear, like like outline of a person go by that door, like 8 feet away from me. Like I could see it plain as day, but I heard no noise whatsoever, and I was super freaked. Like, oh my god, like. And I was just so quiet. I was immensely like attuned, paying attention. I'm sitting straight up. I'm staring at the door, kind of freaked out because I think there's someone here, and there shouldn't be anybody here. And I'm thinking, okay, am I just going crazy? Like, what was that? Like, because earlier I just saw the corner of my eye. This time I saw it dead straight on, and it went from left to right, pretty fast, you know. And so then I told myself, okay, maybe I'm just being crazy, you know, just chill. You're just freaking yourself out. And then I hear a really loud buzz. We're talking like I may have said it out loud. I may have said something like, "Oh, it's nothing, whatever." And then I heard this super loud noise, and it was through my speaker again. It was that same noise, but it was 10 times louder. It was like, "Brah," like a horn almost. I'd never heard such a thing. And like the speaker is plugged up to the computer, but it's not, there's no music or anything. There's no reason it should make that noise. And as much as it freaked me out, I was thinking, okay. And my initial reaction was, okay, if you're a ghost, do it again. And I said that out loud. And then it went extremely loud. We're talking like, I've never even knew the speaker could do that. And it went like, ah, like we're talking like siren loud. And my hair went boom. Like every bit of my hair on my whole body was frozen. I was like dead set frozen. Like I'm like, I have no idea what to even do now. Like, what is there something I'm supposed to do? Like I was just complete and utter shock. And I wanted to leave, but I didn't even want to open the door. So I was in such like hysterics that I called my landlord and I was like, hey, are you awake right now? Like, can you come by here? Like, so I had my landlord literally come by to make sure there's nobody on the other side of this door. I don't even, because they were nearby is why I asked. And I don't know, I didn't know what to think of it. But I thought about it. I thought, wonder if I brought something over from that building that were on my shoes. So I got rid of the shoes immediately and never had that happen ever again. Never saw anything like that, never heard anything like that ever again. But I got rid of the shoes immediately. But yeah, so yeah, I mean, I don't 100% know that was connected to that. I've never had such a thing happen like that. And honestly, I kind of blocked it out of my mind because it was so freaky that I didn't want to even think about it. But yeah.
You know what you should do? You should get like some ghost hunting apparatuses. Apparati? I don't know. I don't know what the plural is. It's 3 o'clock in the morning. What do I know? No, really. Actually, Matt Bortles in the comments here. I just talked him into buying a ghost box this week. I should be like sponsored by the ghost box people. But no, really, you should get like something like a K2 meter or something, you know, that because you seem to run into a lot of paranormal stuff, and I think it would be really cool. Oh, you should get it today, Matt. That's awesome. I can't wait until you have an experience with it. I've got to hear all about it. But yeah, you seem like you find a lot of stuff, and like West Virginia is. There's, you know, it's like Kentucky. It's got a lot of spooky shit going on. So I think you probably, you know, you would get something somewhere. Whether it's at work or at your haunted house or, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, that would be cool.
I'm thankful that where I'm at right now, I don't have, you know, knock on wood, I don't have any really weird things, except I heard the music in the vent once. Other than that,
yeah,
it's pretty chill.
One of these nights you'll wake up and that rabbit will be there at the foot of your bed.
Don't even, yeah. I don't want that.
Oh, I couldn't stop looking at that picture, by the way, the one you sent me. That was
yeah, I mean, I got nothing on that. I don't know how, why or who would have a bunny suit in that hotel, but they had it and somebody was running around with it.
That is so Silent Hill. Like, I
Yeah.
just feel like that's such a Silent Hill thing for somebody to do, is to walk around in a rabbit suit and crawl into bed with people in a creepy old haunted hotel.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh gosh.
But yeah, I have access to that building still. I could. It's literally like 2 blocks from where I'm at. So I mean, and it's still empty and abandoned. Uh, there's little ghost tours they have a ghost tour that go around our vicinity like in the season. I've never been on that tour, and I don't know if they talk about that building specifically, but they go around about like the history and stuff. They're starting to pop up more now, starting to become like a trend, which is really cool. They do one in Beckley and they do one in Charleston. And
Beckley is a very spooky place. I don't know if I've ever told you about my Beckley experience, but just the
that's
word
where
Beckley.
that's where my house is. That's where the haunted house is Beckley, the one I told you about.
That house is not like a big limestone rock, brick, whatever, like the big. Is it limestone on the outside?
No.
Okay. I was going to say that would be so crazy if the investigation that I did in Beckley turned out to be your house now. But yeah. Spooky. Wake up, Chris. Chris is asleep.
No, I'm not. I'm just letting you guys yap. I'm taking a break.
We're yapping.
You guys are professional yappers.
I'm a professional yapper. That's true.
I am doing I'm going to do a little mini documentary on that. I think I told that story on here before, where it was a guy in a cemetery. I mean, it was somebody that was buried in a cemetery in Beckley that in the late 1800s, called Kashmir Kiss Kiss, and a lot of haunted things happened with that. And I didn't know it, and I just kind of got intertwined into it, doing some other things. And there was another Appalachia, like a PBS kind of special came through, and they were doing something on it too. So turned to find out that Kashmir Kiss Kiss was burned at the stake as a witch. And I didn't know any of this stuff until I was posting about it, because I was posting about haunted things that had happened with this thing. My brother wrote a song, and I went there to film a little music video, and then the music video got ruined because the guitar slammed on the ground and broke. And anyway, I recorded all that. So I was going to make a little mini doc, and then as I was talking about it, other people came to me and told me that they had other pieces of the story to tell me. So I'm going to do a little mini documentary on it.
That'll be cool.
Yeah.
I'd like to see that.
For sure.
So is that image you have in the background, is that AI?
No. That one is, let's see, how did I make that one? I remember erasing a lot. How did I make that one? I don't know. That one's not AI. I think I used bits and pieces of things to put
Okay.
it together, and then I just kind of drew in the gaps of what needed to be filled in.
Cool.
Yeah, so it's like pieces of stuff, I'm pretty sure. And it's also the same one that's in the comments. Like, if you guys didn't know, if you become a subscriber and you support the channel because you enjoy what we do here, you get to put Mothman in the comments. It's the same one, it's just a different color. But it's the same little guy.
I don't know if Jamie was talking about that mini doc, but I don't have a platform that I'm going to put that on yet. So if you just follow me on here, eventually I'll talk about it whenever I get to doing it, where it's going to be posted.
Yep.
Make a YouTube channel, dude.
Yeah, I used to run a Urban Legends Facebook page for West Virginia, and I had a company that came and actually bought it from me, so I don't own it anymore. But I used to run it for years, and I would just share people's things. They had like 6,000 people on it. Didn't have a lot.
Oh shoot! You can do it again.
Yeah, I make Mothman T-shirts. I sell those.
Really?
Yep, I sell a
Where?
Mothman mystery box.
Oh, okay. Are you joking with me?
No, I do. No, it's if you go to Atlantis Tees, like Atlantis, here, I'll type it here. This is shameless promotion here.
Yeah.
There, it's somewhere on there. I haven't really updated that site, but I have like some stuff on there.
Atlantis. I'm looking it up.
I was actually trying to think of. I looked up. Was it Dogman? I was trying to think like, should I make a shirt? And I did a lot of research trying to see what it could make, how I could make a cool one, and it was really difficult.
Yeah, Dogman is. He's a tough one to nail down in art form.
Yeah, there needs to be like Dogman memes.
I actually have one on my Instagram. If you guys want to go follow me on Instagram, I have a good boy photo of Dogman, and it's super cute. Just really captures the essence of Dogman. Little known fact, guys, I actually have merch too, and I don't ever like mention it because I don't know, like whoever would want it, I have no idea. But also have merch. So if you buy Joel's merch, you have to buy my merch too.
You gotta put it down in here. Where's it at? Type it up.
It's on teespring.com, and I think probably one of the reasons I don't mess with it is because Teespring's crazy. They're out of control. And
Yeah.
I don't know. I haven't really liked working with them, but I do have some cool stuff on there. But it's, if you just search for Paranormally Correct, you probably find it. And also, I think I have links to it on my Instagram as well. But yeah, I should probably like make new merch and promote it because I had some cool stuff there for a while.
If you ever need help with merch, let me know. I do. I'm at the office. We have a room dedicated to like t-shirt making and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
So that's why I decided to just do something for my own self instead of clients all the time.
Yeah. Very cool. Damn, this is the longest the Sunday night stream has gone on. And
it's
I
a
haven't
glitch
even
in
taken...
the Matrix.
It is, yes, it is. It's a glitch. We usually end the show at 2, but it's 3 now.
Yeah. Joel, I like how you're the model on one of the t-shirt pictures.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just the focus one. Yeah.
So did you design these shirts?
A lot of them. Some of them are just like my brother being silly and doing little sketches.
Okay. The black Mothman shirt is really dope.
Yeah, I can't remember right now. Yeah. But pretty much most of them was made by me or one other person. My brother did a couple of like pencil-looking sketch ones that were kind of neat.
Yeah. Check it out.
Very cool. I guess we're going to call it for the night, guys. This has been really fun. We had a pretty good night. Had a lot of cool stories.
Hey, I know what shirts you should have, Sarah. You should have Live, Laugh, Lurk shirts.
Yeah.
Yeah, I need to make one of those. Yeah. Definitely need to make one of those because I spend a lot of time lurking, so it's very representative of my brand. But yeah, emojis or stickers, like magnets or something. Yeah, that would be cool. I did have some stickers on my Teespring. I don't know if I still do. But I'm tired. Everybody's tired. Everybody's going to sleep, I think. So I guess we're going to call it for the night. And I appreciate y'all hanging out. And give Joel a follow if you want his cool Mothman shirt. And check out Chris. Chris has a new YouTube video that he just posted this evening. Chris, you want to tell him how to find you?
Just go to my profile, and my YouTube link should be in the bio.
Yeah, it's really cool. You guys should check it out. He's parading around in public and in Michael Myers costume, and he looks very spooky and ominous, and it's really cool. Should check it out.
Yeah, I think I'm going to come out with some shirts also, and I'm going to have Joel model them for me.
I'll make sure to have emo hair.
Yes, please.
Oh gosh. All right, guys. I guess we're gonna hop off here for the night. We will be back tomorrow night, same time, same place. So if you aren't following already, be sure to follow me here. Turn on post notifications so you get notified when I go live. We will be back here tomorrow night, 11 p.m. There was something else I was going to tell you. Oh yeah, go watch my sheep squatch video because for some reason it didn't get much engagement. It kind of died on. It was DOA. Which normally doesn't happen, but it's been happening recently. So, everybody after the stream, go watch Sheep Squatch and leave a comment, share it, whatever you got to do. And we'll see you all tomorrow night.
Yeah.
Bye.
Good
Bye.
night, everybody.